So my name's Ko Phoenix. If you guys are tuning in for the first time to my stream, um, and with me is Koma. Um,
Hello.
he's also a streamer. We're both Splitgate 1 MVPs, and we both got early access to the Splitgate 2 alpha playtest. We both played it out quite a bit. How many hours did you play it for, Koma?
Definitely not as much as you. I'll double check my hours, but I had 31 hours.
Yeah. Still a
I would
respectable amount
just,
for only being
yeah.
limited for a certain amount of days. Um, yeah, I also got a little over 40 hours. I don't remember the exact amount, but basically we played the alpha quite a bit, so we have a lot of like thoughts already gathered up and things we've analyzed from the alpha itself. So we're gonna be discussing about our thoughts, and we're also gonna be discussing what we've seen through like interviews with Ian, the CEO of Splitgate, aka 1047 Games, and among other things. So I think we should maybe get started with our overall thoughts. Like, how
E-
about this? Like, how much did you enjoy playing through the alpha, Coma?
yeah, it's because I have my little list of what I kind of wanted to go through in order, and yeah, the
Yeah.
overall experience is at the top of my list as well. Overall experience was kind of an 8 out of 10. Um, I think there is definitely a lot that is going on in some cases. It can be chaotic, but it's kind of a good chaotic in some senses. The abilities, I'm sure we'll talk more about these later, but they felt more like augmentations to the gameplay rather than, games like Overwatch or Apex, where the entire gameplay is focused around them. Um, Guns felt good. The maps are a bit questionable. I'm sure we'll discuss that more later. Uh, and overall, my overall experience was just kind of like an 8 out of 10. I will say the one thing that I did find a bit of a downside was the open week. I think it was. It was like what, a total of 5 days that was open, pretty much.
Yeah.
Whatever they did in that time frame between whenever we were invited to the closed version of it, um, really made the game unstable. So like we experienced more crashes than we did in the more closed quote unquote alpha than we did whenever we were privately invited. So I don't know what was going on there. I know a lot of people were more concerned about perhaps it was the servers. But if it's the servers, that doesn't quite make sense if it's the case of client side crashes. So don't know what that was. That was really the only downside. And of course, the TTK, of which we will discuss that further later. So yeah,
Yeah.
overall, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that way. I was experiencing some performance dips more compared to like in case you guys didn't know or just need a refresher. So when the alpha was launched for the first time, it was just for like only for a select few people, like maybe like up to like 100 or 200 people got to play it, right?
Mhm.
So what Coma was referring to that day, there wasn't really like any performance issues or anything like that sorts. But then they relaunched the alpha where it's like more widespread access that people can, get their hands on for 5 days while it's going on at Gamescom. And for some reason, the performance seemed to be worsened during that phase than compared to day one. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
I,
we
I
we
do
had
want
some weird
to
bugs with it.
I do want to add that that might just be a case of the way they were updating the alpha too, because I know a lot of us checked it whenever the alpha went offline, but or at least the invite section, right, went offline. A lot of us actually checked the game whether or not we could load up the game before the closed alpha started.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of us couldn't even launch the game because they updated it in such a way that removed the executable file, meaning that even if you wanted to launch the game, you couldn't because there was no executable file. There was no .exe. And I think that might have messed with it some bit. Don't know if that's the case. But if that is the case, then I highly recommend not doing that again 24/7. So yeah.
You think that whole like kind of like thing we heard where like, oh, people can play the game, and the alpha's like supposed to be offline, and we were trying to get on to see what's going on, might have caused any problems
It's
for that later
it's
on
hard
for
to
us?
say whether or not that's the case, right? Because I think even right now we can't even launch the game. Because I think the executable's just gone.
I haven't even tried. Like I still have it
I mean,
installed,
I could
but
try, but I think the executable's just gone. So I think that's just the thing that they did by default for majority of the alpha stuff. So
but yeah, we had some weird bugs with that. Like one of the bugs was like, oh, let's say you get invited by somebody to join your party. You click join, it drags your entire party you were with to it, which is fine and
yeah,
all, but it broke the play button for the whole party, resulting
yeah.
everybody had to reboot the game.
It like desynced for like a lot of us. So it's like a portion of us actually got queued in, and a portion of us didn't get queued in as well.
Yeah.
I know there was, I think it was you, and I think River ran into some issues like actually loading into the games, and it would like crash slash disconnect you from the game itself. So I don't know what's going on there in those cases, but alpha, I guess.
Yeah.
I would say the only major bug I ran into personally, I know I showed you and I showed River and I showed a few others, but I actually managed to clip through a portal wall.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
apparently this is caused by lag spikes. I don't know what did it. I mean, I wasn't experiencing any kind of lag. I think I was recording at the time, but I didn't feel any stuttering. Just really bizarre, just
Did,
sudden issue.
do you have
So
a clip of that you can quickly access to, Koma?
I do. Give me one
Yeah,
second.
we
I
can
need to
maybe
pull up
pop
my
that
YouTube.
up real quick. But yeah, my overall rating, I would say it's probably either like an 8 or maybe even 7. At the same time, this isn't an alpha, and I knew things were gonna get better for the future. At least I'm
Yeah,
hopeful for that. So
I sent you that link by the way, so you can pull that up if you want to. But
let's see.
yeah, I don't know. Overall experience was relatively smooth. Again, we'll get more into the whole nitty gritty details further down the line, but
It's unlisted.
yeah, this was specifically unlisted for the sake of just. I sent it to Rockjaw, and I think it was the same day Rockjaw got left the company, or whatever you want to really call it.
So yeah, this is the Pora bug that
Yeah,
Como was talking about here. So
you
let's
might
go
have to
ahead and
skip
play
ahead
that.
a little bit. I don't know. There's no audio as far as I'm aware. I
Well,
removed the
let's
audio.
see what triggered it first. I mean, it looked like you were just doing the normal portal thing, but for some reason you got stuck in
Yeah,
the portal floor here.
I literally clipped into the back rooms here. Like I just don't really know what exactly happened. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. You'll see later that some of my friends that I was actually playing with at the time actually come and try and help me out, and I
Yeah,
literally could not be freed from this location. There was
yeah.
I couldn't
I think
shoot a portal
I think
wall.
Captain Cake eventually goes on here. If I
Yeah,
recall.
yeah. See, he throws his portal there, and he jumps down right there.
I wonder if maybe like a Fubar could save you. Maybe it's just shoot the Fubar at you.
Maybe, and unfortunately, at this moment in time, I think I have my smoke nade equipped. So that was like another issue. It's like if I had my
Yeah.
sticky grenade, I could have probably killed myself.
Yeah,
Um,
this is not the only time I've seen this bug. By the way, there was a YouTube video that someone posted a review of Splitgate where they also featured this bug into it.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember us going into the stage with the devs at one point, and someone commented on the same, a relatively same issue. I don't know if it's the same issue or whatever. There could be multiple things that
Hmm.
outcome in the same thing. But they said that supposedly it's because of lag spikes and frame stutters. So something about the portals not being able to catch you, slipping through them correctly, and it just clips you straight through the wall or whatever. So
Yeah.
really bizarre.
Let me pull something up real quick.
All right.
So after
Phone's going off.
the alpha was done, okay, this is a wrong Twitter account. After the alpha was done, there was a few days later there was a post by Splitgate. They posted it on their Twitter, right? And basically it's a lot of feedback that the community has given to the overall game. They made a statement saying that we heard your feedback and basically addresses some things that they were changing and fixing. And so one of the biggest criticism that I think both me and Koma shared was the whole Hotzone sharing the progression between teams. That was not I don't think that was a very good idea at all. But they are reverting that where that's no longer going to be a thing. Each team it's going to be not having the same progression on that hill anymore. They're going to be separate, right? Um, this is something I thought that they should have possibly have done was make the rounds just overall longer because a lot of times it felt like you're only having like a minute and a half long round, like 2 minutes, and every time round's done, you get like 30 seconds of like loading or people switching to different factions. It's kind of like it just feels kind of sluggish if you ask me.
Yeah, there's too much downtime in between, I think.
Yeah,
Is
so
kind of what most people really didn't like.
and that's something they're addressing. They said there are going to be longer rounds, including a higher kill limit in TDM.
Mhm.
Now, I am so I wrote some notes here. You guys won't be able to see these notes, but I could just basically just say them out loud. So this was before I even had this Twitter thing posted up. My thought process for Hotzone TDM was maybe they should have done instead of like best 3 out of 5, but like maybe best 2 out of 3, and just make the scoring system like a bit more or like longer, right?
Like original Hotzone or something.
Yeah, kind of. And then another thing I feel is the power weapons. I just felt like they're too like hey
Uni?
welcome Stoma. Voice from Koma sounds double in stream. I could probably fix that. One sec.
Is it because you're sharing desktop and
Yes, it was. All right.
yeah, that'll do it.
All right. Thanks for the feedback, Soma. So basically, the power weapons just feels like they're way too common, in my opinion, for the Splitgate 2 Alpha, and
Mhm.
they felt very forced. Like you basically always have to get power weapons. I feel, or otherwise you're not going to really make much of a comeback for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have this further down my list, so I don't know if we'll cover them later. But I feel like the power weapons, in most cases, didn't feel like power weapons. And the reason I say that is because number one, we had so many issues playing with the Fubar, right? Like you shot it
Yeah,
multiple times and you just couldn't get kills with it. It takes 2 rockets point blank to actually kill somebody sometimes, at least to the floor. If you impact them, it'll kill them. Um, and it, at times, depending on the situation and depending on what gun you're going against, if you have the split stream, really didn't matter, because theoretically, if you just throw on rapid fire onto the sprinter SMG for arrows, it's kind of the same thing, and it's even more manageable in that case because you have like an extra attachment. Like you could put up extended mag, right? Um, So like it's an interesting little gun. It's just I feel like it really shouldn't fit in that slot in some cases. Like I genuinely thought initially seeing, the split stream, I thought it was a loadout weapon because that's what it looks like. Like it doesn't look like a unique Arios power weapon, but apparently it is. Um I wasn't too much of a fan of how the split stream, like with every weapon you have this like hip fire aim down sight thing, right? The Fubar has it, you know, every other weapon has it. And I was expecting that to be the case too with the split stream. But instead, when you aim down sights or alt fire as they like to say, it just splits the gun in two. Um, and that felt weird because every single time I was trying to get used to the game at the beginning, um, I would try to aim down sights with it, and I can't do that, and it would catch me in the middle of the animation, which
Yeah.
animations will be a huge part in the whole TTK conversation that I'm sure we'll dive into much deeper later on. But honestly, I just couldn't get a real good feel for the power weapons. I never picked any of them up because I knew I wasn't really going to get kills with them. The only one I think I got the most kills with was definitely the split stream in most cases. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
So I know you use the Sprinter SMG more than I did with the Arrows faction, right?
Mm.
Did you ever like try like melting through like smart wall shields with it at all? Because I've noticed with the split stream, you were able to do that like very quickly. It really melts through the smart wall. It's like basically pops it
Um,
immediately.
I think so, but shooting through it or trying to like shred a Sabrask wall is kind of like, at least if there's a Sabrask behind it, it's kind of a death wish. Um, I would assume that you can probably shoot through it. If you have an extended mag, you'll probably have some ammo left over. I've noticed with the smart wall that even if the smart wall starts like cracking at the seams, basically, the bullets will start piercing through it. So like the barrier is still up, right? But once it starts cracking, that's when the bullets start passing through. And I think that's a little bit poorly like translated, right? Because in Destiny 2, Titans have the barricade. And when you set down a barricade and you know it's starting to get low health because it starts like cracking, basically. And once it fully breaks and it's gone, that's when the barricade comes down.
Yeah.
And I just the Sabrask wall isn't like that. It's like as soon as like you see the cracks of the Sabrask wall, you need to get out from behind it because that's when you start taking damage.
Yeah,
Um,
I think how they did it was like as soon as it breaks, it shows that few frames where it's broken, but technically I don't think you're technically piercing through it. I think it's technically not there anymore because you broke it, right? It's technically not there
um,
anymore. It's just like a visual effect, and you can basically shoot through it.
no, because from my experience, I've actually been behind the smart wall and I've seen the cracks in the smart wall and it's still there. Like it's still like the full wall, right?
Like
Like it's not in
you
an
saw block and
animation.
damage from it from gunfire.
No, like it's cracked and it's still up. Like I can see the outline of the shield, right? But
Yeah,
like when it's cracked, I can feel the bullets coming through because I'm taking damage at that point. Like at that point, it should be quote unquote destroyed, but
right.
it's not because it's still on my screen, and that's poorly translated to the player because it's like, oh, my smart wall's still up. I can still stand here when in fact I really can't.
Yeah,
I'll have to
I think they
see if
should
I can find
just
an example.
I think they should just make the smart wall just completely disappear at that point, right? Like by the
Yeah,
time
yeah,
like it's broken, don't there's no need for a broken animation state, I feel. Just make it completely gone at that point.
yeah. I had gameplay at one point. I don't know where it's at. I would have to go find it. Um, because like I was behind it, and I think I was being shot at by. Part of me wants to say it was the tempo or the sprinter. Um, and the barricade, the smart wall takes some damage, right? And then
Hmm.
it's to the point where it's cracking, and then as soon as this Meridian starts walking up with the burst rifle, the Quantum specifically, um, I start getting shot through my smart wall, and I'm like, that should not be the case, because I really did think my smart wall would like literally, quite literally, still take more damage. So
You think maybe that could be like a hidden like additional ability from the impact mod, maybe? I mean, after all, it's called impact mod.
it's it's hard to say, but at the same time, when you think about it, uh the full auto weapons don't get access to it. And if I'm able to use, like a good half a mag of sprinter, extended mag and shred a barricade, that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find if I can find a clip of that. So
All right. Well, while you go look for that, I'm gonna continue talking about the
yeah, go ahead.
feedback the Splitgate shared out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, that's basically my thoughts about longer rounds. We started talking about a lot more about the smart wall after that, and then they stated that there's gonna be shorter respawns. So basically, for the game mode Hotzone, it starts out at like I think like 8 seconds, something like that. I think it was actually 5 seconds actually. It starts at five
Hmm.
seconds to spawn in, and after every 8 seconds, it goes up by a second. So 8 seconds into the game, it's 6 seconds. 8 more seconds, it's gonna be 7, and so on. They cap this out eventually to 20 seconds, which takes course, I believe, like 2 minutes fully in the game.
Hmm.
And by the time it gets to that point, let's say you and your entire team are dead, it basically just makes it so like the other team gets a free capture. There's no comeback at that point. And
Yeah.
it's a little silly if you ask me for having the spawn time all the way to 20 seconds. Sure, you can reduce your overall team respawn point time by 3 seconds if you get a kill yourself. So like every kill you get, it reduces it by 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But I think 20 seconds is a bit too much. And I remember we were basically able to give feedback while they were in a call after the alpha was over with. And that was a thing a lot of the community was speaking on was the spawn times. And it sounded like they were probably gonna be leaning towards maybe like a 15-second max time, and maybe even like like upping up the possibly even upping up the how many time reduction you get per kill. We'll see.
Yeah.
Did you find the clip, Koma?
Yes, I sent it to you. It should be in your DMs right
All
now.
right, let's go look at that.
Luckily enough, it was in actually one of my videos. So this is the clipped version of it. Um, but I'll kill this player. And you'll see I set up my smart wall here, and they just shred straight through it. And you see I'm taking damage, but it's still there for a good time frame, right?
Yeah,
And it basically, if I want my smart wall to tell me that it's destroyed, it shouldn't be there for more than like half a second. It should
yeah.
just be gone
That's what
instantly.
that's what I'm saying. Like this is what I was trying to explain earlier. Like in this broken state, isn't this technically the state where like anything goes at this point? Like anything can get through it. So like, why even have
Yeah,
this broken state then? Because it's just,
I
it's
I
just, it's
I
I
don't
think
know.
it misleads the players
Yeah,
thinking that like, oh, hey, you're still technically safe because you're behind it, but as you can see,
yeah,
you're
but
getting shot through it, so
yeah,
that
because
doesn't make
I
any
felt like I
sense.
was safe, and again, the amount of damage that it took didn't feel like it was good. Like if you watch how many shots it like takes.
Yeah, let's see. This one probably doesn't count because you're just placing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did not take very long. What
Yeah, that
weapon
did
is he
not take very
using?
long. I can't tell what that is. Oh, I think that's
It's,
the synapse actually.
yeah, it's some kind of AR.
It's some kind of AR, but I think that might be a Meridian. Yeah, it looks like a Meridian, so I would assume that's the Snaps AR. Um, but still, I mean, that's a little under like the entire magazine of the Snaps, I want to say.
Yeah, I don't know the exact health of the smart wall, but I feel like it's like probably like 100, maybe even
Yeah,
less. But
yeah,
yeah, they should just remove this whole animation, I feel, of it
yeah.
broken.
If it breaks, I should like be able to notice that it breaks, not sit there and be like, "Oh, cool animation." So
Yeah, that lasts for a while. This like
yeah,
either remove it completely or maybe just like you said, just only have it shown for like a half of a second. So
yeah.
yeah, let's go back to. All right, so let me look up chat, see if there's anyone say anything. Okay, no additional
No, there
comments.
isn't.
All right,
No.
so they also said that portals can now be bound to close one at a time. So basically, in Splitgate 1, you were able to do this, right? You were able to close one portal at
Right.
a time without making your own portals. In the
Hmm.
alpha for Splitgate 2, they decided to make this combined instead.
Yeah, it
And
was a single.
this was
Yeah.
probably because they were thinking long term for controller support. They don't want too many, button configurations, I would assume, with controllers. So that was probably them thinking, like, hey, it's probably better if we just have it like this, where you
Yeah.
close two portals with one button instead of just having their own button. Yeah, this is nice and all. I don't think me
I won't
personally,
use it personally.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be using this personally. That's for sure.
Uh,
Um,
Realistically, I think the reason they bound it to one thing and like to one button and like the portals is they're really trying to streamline this for like newer players, right?
yeah,
That is generally what they're trying to do here. And again, more advanced players, more veteran players could always swap to the original system. So in that case, I think this is kind of like a good like alternative slash positive. You know, I do like that they're giving veteran players the opportunity to play it like its original Splitgate, which is cool.
yeah.
Um, and of course, auto sprint, kind of a no brainer in most games nowadays. Um, so yeah, I don't know, some good little option stuff that they're doing right now.
Yeah, this last two. So basically, they removed the ability to sprint while reloading for some reason, and a lot of people didn't like that, myself included. And
Yeah,
for
I
some
found
reason, they
myself
made
getting
it.
stuck.
Yeah, some reason they made it like only a perk that allows you to be able to do that with arrows. So
Yeah, it was Eros only. Which don't know what they're gonna do with that perk if that's the case. You know, it's like what exactly could you turn that perk into?
yeah,
Um,
they'll probably replace it for sure with something
yeah,
different.
just maybe they can make it where you can aim down sights or something while sliding. I don't know, something interesting.
This was something me and Koma both shared too. We think that TTK is just too fast, right?
Yeah,
And they say that they're experimenting with that as well for the next alpha.
yeah,
So overall, good improvements moving
yeah.
forward from them, and yeah. Um, so
Make sure
there,
to have the article full screened on your
yeah.
Discord thing, by the way.
I'm just looking at what we should. So yeah, a few days ago they did a Reddit AMA. I covered this in a video already. Um, I'm not gonna talk too much on it. I don't know if there's anything Koma wants to add to that. The
Um, I
Reddit.
didn't I didn't read through this at all. I know it existed. But I didn't read through any of this stuff. Most of the articles I didn't read because it was mostly like repetitive stuff that they're stating. It's like mobile app, um, what inspired you, like, you know, what is the thought process behind, the abilities, Halo Reach, Halo 4. I think Ian said he liked Halo Reach, didn't like Halo 4, kind of just repetitive. Which probably makes sense because I recall the Xbox era saying there was more than one interviewer or something in the room.
Yeah, she didn't really say too much, but yeah,
So
I'm scrolling through it
yeah,
right now. So there was John, all right,
yeah,
John Clark, and then somebody by the name of, if I can get to it, Antonia. Yeah, she asked for a few questions, but it's mostly John asking all the questions. She was kind of just like she was kind of just like the second interviewer.
yeah,
But yeah, they did talk about a bunch of stuff that didn't really matter, but they also talked about some stuff that I think was put things into perspective a lot. And here, we'll just do. We're just gonna look up for that word controversial, right? Because Ian stated that during the alpha, he said that we wanted to test out our controversial changes early. I don't need feedback on a fun party mode, or at least not this early, because those are not as important to bounce. I think for us, this was more about we're going to start with a very simple sample. Well, it's going to be part of Splitgate 2. We got a lot more, we're just scratching the surface. So, a lot of people felt like what we got in alpha was basically just going to be like, oh, that is Splitgate 2. That is what's going to be more like Splitgate 2. And to me, this makes me think, well, they were just experimenting with some things that are like new to the genre, right? Like things that are not really done much. Like you agree with that, Koma?
it definitely feels that way. That controversial, I think, is a little bit of an understatement in some cases. Especially with game modes. I think the round based works in a competitive manner, right? Like that is
Yeah,
obviously the Splitgate scene is a huge controversial thing as of basically ChenZo's clip that went viral on Twitter. For anyone who doesn't understand that, basically showed ChenZo triple portaling around Ozone. Um, and basically a lot Jake Lucky quote retweeted it and like yeah, Phoenix is pulling it up right here. Um, but basically it's it's a gray area for the competitive sense because when you look at a game in a competitive way, you start to see it the skill gap show a whole lot more. And when skill gap comes around, then you start getting snowballing, and snowballing is the sense of once you start a round, it can never seem like to flip the script, right? And that's kind of what Hot Zone and round based TDM kind of do. It's like, sure, you lose the round, but you're also able to, potentially win the round after and the round after and the round
yeah,
after. Um, and again, that's controversial because in every other game that at least that's out currently, TDM is not a round based mode. There are versions or alternate modes that the community has made that mimic TDM to a standard. For example, before Splitgate 2 was even shown off, mostly, I think at this point we only had the Hall of Fame. I made the mode limit in Splitgate 2, or sorry, Splitgate 1. My bad, I'm getting numbers
yeah,
mixed up. And limit was just TDM, but it was hard capped at 15 kills. So it was first team to 15 kills, and because we don't have rounds in Splitgate 1, we were meant to basically start up another game because once you hit that 15 kills, you were meant to be flipping the round. And that was the limitation that the Splitgate one had. And this is quite literally what I made technically.
Yeah.
I don't want to take like, oh, I did this, but
I think it was a
it's
huge
theoretically the same
coincidence,
thing.
yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
think
the
it's a
same
huge
thing.
coincidence. They were probably testing this far before I had the idea to even throw it into Splitgate 1. Um, so yeah. Stoma's been saying some stuff in chat.
Yeah, I just been waiting for
Um,
you to finish.
okay.
Let
I'll go
me
ahead and let you read then.
Yeah, I'll read what you said. So Selma said, I am glad that in the future you can set portals individually and close them individually again. Without this change, I would probably not play Splitgate 2. I am glad this will be changed. TDM and Splitgate 2 alpha field more like some tactical shooter somehow. And yeah, I kind of agree that last part. I
Um,
feel like the whole portals thing, like being set to individual, is not that important if you ask me. But I can see why some people would not want to play Splitgate 2 without that feature, so
yeah. As that's for the whole tactical shooter. I guess in a sense I can see it. Because if I'm comparing stuff to like Siege, Time Dome would really fit within line with I feel like what Siege would probably do, right? Like you set down this device and it like speeds up anything within like its proximity with a player.
yeah.
Um, but I do think that they took it in a direction that number one I wasn't really expecting. And I'm pretty sure none of us were really expecting because they really did poorly word how they were setting up this game because they said class based and they said faction based. And realistically, that's kind of two ways that you could perceive a game, right? Like
Yeah.
most people thought this was a hero shooter, which in reality it kind of isn't, right? Um and it's just interesting. It doesn't feel like an arcade shooter anymore. I want to like clear that up right now. And because arcade, I mean, it's even on the screen right here that I'm looking at it. Phoenix isn't focused on the screen, but um, arcade shooters are specifically shooters that you're meant to kind of have some fun with it, right? Halo follows this mindset in the case of um, the sandbox is very wacky. The physics are very wacky. You can throw a grenade at like a weapon pad and bounce the weapon pad or bounce the weapon off the weapon pad via grenade.
Yeah.
That's kind of, how physics work in Halo, and that's what makes it arcadey. And of course the scattered sandbox weapons. And Splitgate has removed most of the weapon pickups. There's only two weapon pickups, at least
Yeah.
from the weapons that we got to play with in the alpha. And that's super unfortunate because one of my favorite things about Halo and about Splitgate 1 was scavenging weapons, whether that's from the bodies of enemies. And conveniently, hey, a shotgun has been delivered to me. Like, how convenient of, a flip. So, um, that's just kind of my like huge downside. Like, it doesn't feel like an arcade, but at the same time, it's not a tactical. I just don't know where to fit it just yet.
Yeah, this is what Ian said in Xbox era interview. But yeah, I guess I'll read off. Yeah, I'll read off John's question and then we'll discuss this. So John said, I don't think you guys hide the fact that you were big Halo 2 Arena fans, and Splitgate 2 feels like Arena shooter in 2024. Is there any concern from a live service point of view that this hardcore minority that scream for arena shooters and that they're not dead, is there any fear that they are just loud? Or just, yeah. I look at the team that made Concord. They've made a great looking game, but I'm very concerned for them at launch, right? Because you're fighting against people still playing on Fortnite and all these live service games. How do you think about from that industry perspective when you look at the future launch of Splitgate 2? By the way, just a heads up, this interview came out before Concord basically just like
Shut down.
shut down development, so this interviewer might think that Concord was still going to be going on at this time, but
Yeah.
so Ian stated, complicated question. I hate defining games in these buckets. Like, is this an arena shooter? Is this a tactical shooter? Because to me, it's obviously FPS. There's arena shooter elements. There are tactical shooter elements. There are unique elements. I think trying to put it in a bucket, is it an arena shooter? Is it an arcade shooter? Some purists would tell you no, that's not an arena shooter. An arena shooter, everyone has to be exactly the same, and it has to be pickups everywhere. And tactical shooters will tell you, oh, it has to be no response and so on. So yeah, basically it seems like he's trying to combine different kind of genres and not have Splitgate to technically be defined by any set genre. Is what I'm taking, right?
So the way that I'm understanding this is, yeah, he's trying to combine all these different genres.
Yeah,
Um, and honestly, the arena shooter is probably the only genre I think this game can really fit in currently. Um, of course, it takes aspects of the arcade shooter, right? You know, some weapon pickups. You have plenty of little sandbox elements that you can play with, albeit they're very locked to your faction. Um, but I can't see aspects of a tactical shooter being used anywhere in this game. Um, specifically because if you look at gameplay of like Call of Duty or some of these other more modernized shooters or even Siege. Siege is one of the biggest tactical shooters along with Tarkov. Um, I guess you can throw CS:GO in there. They're very paced. They're very precise. Um, because in Siege, your movement matters because when you move in Siege, uh, you're giving yourself away. Like the enemies can hear your movement.
yeah,
So you standing up, you going down, like crouching, all that is like pretty much in audio form. And again, it's very slow. It's very methodical. CS:GO is very slow, methodical. You peek your corners very carefully, and I just don't feel that in Splitgate 2. It's very fast. It's snappy. It's nothing like a tactical shooter. I don't know where exactly he's getting the sense of it being a tactical shooter. Because like even with the new Call of Duty, um, they added this mechanic to where if you're going around a corner, you kind of like lean into that corner to peek around the corner. Albeit it's very slight. It's a very slight like little peek, right?
yeah,
But that's what makes it tactical. You have your little like mantle on, like you can just rest your gun onto a surface and stabilize your gun. It just that is a tactical, and unfortunately, I don't see any tactical elements in Splitgate 2. So
yeah. Another thing I know that both me and you share in common is like something from Splitgate 1 to Splitgate 2. At some point, the audio cues just seems kind of like non-existent sometimes.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Specifically very early on into the alpha, I noticed that I really just I don't know if it was like audio overload or what it was, but I could never hear enemy portals being placed down. It's just something I could not hear. I mean, granted, my ears aren't the greatest, but I feel like if I have my headset on, I can hear most of what's going on around me. And unfortunately, I couldn't really. I could hear gunshots. I couldn't even hear gunshots shooting me in the back sometimes. It was just very bizarre. So,
yeah. I actually got a clip we can show up real quick here.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I analyzed this and I've shared it with the community, and we have possibly agreed to the same possible conclusion here. Let me do. Yeah, I gotta find it first. Sometimes it's buggy. Here we go, media player. Okay, so I titled this video, I titled this clip called Radar Didn't Show Enemy and No Audio, right?
Hmm.
And so you guys can you guys can analyze this yourself, and you guys can tell me what you guys think what happened, right? And I'll share I'll hear from Koma and see like if he can analyze it at all. But yeah, let me just play it.
Yeah.
All right, so it might be a little confusing because
Yeah.
that is our voices, right? But that's past
Yeah.
us. But
So
basically, um, so I'm gonna scrub through it, right? So so I did not know where this guy came from. There was no audio or anything like that, and also
the radar wasn't
it
pinging
it's
him.
showing him on the radar now. That's only like after like he's
He
like
starts shooting.
yeah. So if, like we go here, right? We have an enemy over here. So when the dot is not filled, that means they're not on the same level, guys.
Yes.
When the dot is filled, they're on the same level. Um,
It's specifically also to the point to where if a portion of your radar is red, that means there's an enemy in that direction.
yeah.
Now, I don't know whether or not I think that's in proximity. So if someone is in proximity of you, your radar will go off. It's the same thing in kind of like Destiny 2.
Hmm.
Um, and the dots are very similar to Call of Duty, how Call of Duty kind of handles it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, as we kind of saw, he just kind of sneaks up. Like it's like he has like dead silence on from like Call of Duty. You can faintly hear his jetpack a little bit in the back, but that's all you really hear.
So this is me. This is him smacking me in the back. All right. So there's no audio, it seems, but there's also he's not on the radar. And
Rewind it back a little bit, like
okay.
before you step through your shield, because you can kind of hear his jetpack when he jumps up. Listen, hear him? You could hear him right behind you. Listen, hear his jetpack right there? You can just
I don't
faintly
hear
hear his jetpack.
it.
I can hear his jetpack, but again, it's so quiet that you would never be able to hear it, especially in like, like a very stressful situation.
I don't hear it, but you do. So I shared this to the community, and this is what someone thought that possibly what happened. So even though I don't see them on the radar, right? I don't see them anywhere. I
Mhm.
They made this good point that like maybe they're just crouching. Maybe they're just hugging against this wall here, just waiting for me to show up. You know what I mean? Because usually in shooter games, when
Yeah.
you're crouching, typically you don't get show up in the radar, and of course you're not gonna really emit a sound. So he was just
Yeah,
waiting
Halo
to
does
smack
that.
me, right? But at the same time, if you heard a jackpack and you think it's him with a jackpack, don't you think that should show up in the radar at least?
Yeah, that should.
Yeah,
Basically, like you can't hear his footsteps, but you just barely hear the jetpack behind you,
yeah.
and he just doesn't show up on the
He's
radar.
still not on the radar by the way, even after he smacked me here.
Yeah, it's because he hasn't fired a bullet. I think it isn't until
He
you turn around and start shooting at him, he starts
he's
shooting at you.
he's clearly in front of me, attacking me. Still not on the radar.
Yeah.
It's not until after I die he shows up in the radar.
Yeah, it's because he shoots you there.
So yeah, it's a
Um,
little weird.
I really didn't mess around with the crouching or whatever. Specifically in Halo, yes, crouching keeps you off the radar. But or at least yeah, the radar. They call it just a radar. And Destiny 2 also has that aspect, but when you're crouched in Destiny 2, it pings you periodically.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's someone here. Is they're just crouching. Um, I don't know what it was with this radar system. I don't know what that dude was running to even, sneak up behind you. He used arrows. Maybe there's some like built-in perk with an arrows that just makes it to where it's like, oh, you're, immune to proximity radar. I
Yeah.
didn't read anything of that case. But if there is, there really should be, a good note for that. Although I feel like if that was going to be like a perk of some sort, it should be on Meridian, not Eros.
I just realized, guys. Let me mute Discord audio and put desktop audio on. When I was sharing that clip up, guys, earlier, you guys were not able to hear a thing. So that did not really get my point across. So what we're gonna end up doing, we're gonna share that again real quick and just go over it like this short summary this time. All right. So basically, you guys should be able to have audio this time. That's my bad. This is our first time doing this podcast. So I'm still trying to figure out the tanks and everything. So yeah, me and Coleman's not talking at all during this, and let me know if you guys hear any audio indications. And yeah,
The next zone.
I really wish I could pull up Steam profile so I can look this.
where did you come from? There's no audio, dude.
Yeah. There's no audio, and he wasn't even on radar as far as I saw.
Yeah, he was. So yeah, Coma's thought that maybe around here there was a jetpack.
I really wish I could pull it. I hear it in my left ear.
You hear it in your left ear?
I hear it in my left.
Oh, you know what? I think I did hear it too.
Yeah, you hear it just faintly because it cuts off so early.
Yeah, like right there.
Yeah, so he's like he comes up under and behind from underneath and comes up behind you. Like he jetpacks his way up.
He should have been shown up on the radar if you ask me.
Yeah. If they jetpack like that, you should be able to like see them on the radar.
Right.
Quickly, I want to follow up on one of Stoma's comments here.
Right.
Stoma says, I think people compare it to a tactical shooter because of the respawn times and the round interruptions. It's less about the tactical elements. I can see why some people say that. But my counterpoint is in cases of like Halo, Halo has plenty of round-based stuff, right? Even Call of Duty in most cases has round-based stuff. But even in like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 days, Search and Destroy wasn't technically a tactical shooter case, right? Sure, it was paced, right? But it by no means was tactical shooter. Halo's had Breakout, Halo's had Extermination, but by no means have we ever thrown any of those game modes or any of those games into a tactical shooter. So, I still don't see it.
I heard the common saying that like some people feel that Splitgate 2 feels like it's Halo 4 with loadouts, but with portals. You see that comparison at all?
Kind of. I definitely get those elements, right? Because I played a ton of Halo 4. I forget when this would be. I want to say like middle school, I think is whenever I played a ton of Halo 4.
Whenever you were in middle school, yeah.
Yeah, around in middle school. Who fucking cares? But I still vividly remember the Halo 4 loadout system. And I remember like messing around with it a ton, right? Because the way the Halo 4 loadout system worked is you had your primary, your secondary, you had your grenade, you had your armor ability, and then you had two perks, right?
Yeah.
And the perks either affected your reload speed, your like on radar, or some other like personal thing, and then your other one affected like vehicle like health, or if you died, your target would be marked on the mini map, or something very miscellaneous.
You get 2 perks slots as well in Halo 4. I don't remember that.
Yes, yeah, I think there was 2. I might be misremembering, It's been so long because I just don't play Halo 4 anymore.
Yeah,
It's almost
Splitgate
impossible to
2
go back to an
gets
MCC.
Splitgate 2 gets 2 perk loadouts,
Yeah, you
so
get 2,
that
but I'm pretty
is
sure you get 2 in Halo 4.
yeah.
I
I
could
feel like
be
that's a pretty fair
definitely
comparison
wrong.
then.
It's valid in a sense, but in the case where Halo had your grenade and your like class, like your armor ability, which keep in mind the armor abilities back in Halo 4 were um middle ground kind of like balance, right? They weren't the foreground of the gameplay.
Yeah,
Like I mentioned before, the abilities in Splitgate 2 are more or less augments to the main gameplay. Armor abilities were not really augments. They were just there to like help you with information, being a little bit defensive. Um, Not anything as crazy as Splitgate has it.
yeah.
Uh, so
All right. Well, ads are about to appear. We'll go back to talking about this a bit more. Ads are about to be over, so
yeah, I have like 20 seconds on my end. So
we'll do a little bit of recap what we're talking about. So I made the comparison. So by the time the ads are over, those should be up to date to the topic we were talking about. So
mhm.
we were talking about people are making the comparison to Splitgate 2 to Halo 4 with portals, with the whole loadouts and stuff. And one thing I've noticed is that the weapons, while the weapons in Splitgate 2 seems pretty identical to each other, but like just either slower or faster pace, right? The only difference I see is like the shotguns, right? The shotguns are way different. The Meridian shotgun and the Sabrask shotgun. And one thing I've noticed about Halo 4 weapons was like the weapons also feel very similar, just like they're different classifications. So you got your UNSC weapons, you got your Covenant weapons, you got your uh fucking forgot what they were called at the time,
Forerunner.
the Forerunners. But
Yep.
basically, what I'm trying to say is that basically they have their precision weapon, like their BR, right, for each of the three.
BR, DMR.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had their each one had their own shotgun, each one had their own sniper, and like they were all like pretty like identical from
Mhm.
what I noticed. I think Splitgate 2 does it a little bit better with like showing a little bit of a difference, but with how fast the TDK
Yeah.
is, with how fast the TDK is, I feel like it doesn't matter too much for like, let's say like the carbine, right?
hmm
So yeah, what was your
So,
thoughts on that?
fun fact: there was a charged shotgun in Halo 4. It was called the Bolt Shot. It was a pistol. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah,
But Halo 4, the Forerunner sidearm or little pistol, um, basically you could charge it up, and the alt fire was basically a shotgun. The community hated that, by the way. I remember very early on, people really hated the bolt shot, and I used it all the time. It was like one of my favorite guns to use in that game. Um, but yeah, the different um, faction weapons in Halo 4 basically all overlapped with one another. Sure, there were minor differences. Um, because for a very big fun fact, um, with the UNSC weapons, the precision weapons wise, you had the BR and the DMR. These are kind of the standard precision weapons from all Halos. The BR specifically came from Halo 2 and 3. The DMR was specifically a Reach addition because Reach did not have the BR, and Halo 4 had both. But the fun fact about the Covenant variants is there is no BR for the Covenant variants. In fact, there's only the carbine, which is the precision. I think it's like 4 to 5 tap headshot. I don't remember the exact like TTK and stuff on it.
I might have
But then
remember
that,
it wrong then.
yeah, but then that leads me to the light rifle, which was the Forerunner precision weapon. Which, fun fact, it was a hybrid of both the DMR and the BR because it was an alt firing gun, depending on if you aim down sights or not. So if you're hip firing it, it fired in a burst, but if you aim down sights, it fired a single round. Um, but in that case, it's still overlapping the sandbox, which is great because you have variety, right? It's like, oh, I can use this weapon and it works the exact same way as this weapon.
Yeah.
What are you pulling up here?
So this was just me doing a follow up to Koma saying, or not Koma, Stoma saying that I still don't understand why they lock weapons types based on faction. And one thing I think you need to understand that what we got in the alpha are those are not going to be all the weapons or the abilities we are getting for the game, right? That's just for the alpha itself. And what I am pulling up right now is here we have we see what appears to be a Meridian SMG with plasma energy, right? So that's just looks like that's gonna be a Meridian SMG that's gonna be coming in the near future.
Yeah.
So I just want to show this off because like it looks like there's more weapons coming up. There's also the BFB, for example,
Yeah.
the Zirconium Fiber BFB. So it seems like BFB might be making its return. I don't know how they're gonna be doing this exactly because it also says it looks like it's made for the Arrows faction. I think this might just be a power weapon though, because BFB was
Yeah, I
a
think
power
so.
weapon originally in Splitgate 1. But
If they were
yeah,
to make this a loadout weapon, it would be a two shot, and I don't think anyone would really like that.
yeah, no one would like that. But yeah, they're
Um,
gonna have more weapons down the road.
so that said, I do remember them actually saying a lot about the weapons in the case that apparently we haven't even seen half the weapons that is
Yeah,
going to be in the full launch. So currently, we only saw 2 carbines, 1 burst rifle, 3 ARs, 3 pistols, and 1 SMG, I believe. 2 shotguns. Um,
Ian stated that like what we saw in the alpha was probably like only like 10% of the game.
yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot
And
more coming.
and there's no clue what could happen like beyond launch, right? It's like they
Yeah,
could be adding like a weapon per faction if they wanted to for like beyond launch.
yeah.
But we would just really have to wait and see. They were like really hesitant on pushing the idea of factions, like expanding on factions. Because I know in some of the articles they were like, we will only do more factions if the community wants more factions.
Yeah, so basically that's not gonna happen. So I don't think that's something the
It
majority of the community is gonna be asking.
Here's the thing. I think they need to do factions because if they don't, the game's gonna get stale. Because that was the entire thing that kept Apex fresh. It was the entire thing. New sandbox items are the reason people play games like this. Because,
Don't
like for
don't
example,
you think
take
it's
Halo.
don't you think it's better off just expanding on these existing factions though? Like make them have more stuff.
Yes, but my counter question to that is, how long do you think you're gonna play if they add a single weapon to each faction for every update? So say every update we get a new mode, like 2 new maps and a weapon for each faction. How long are you going to be able to stick around to play?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
So
I feel like it might be
so
good for like maybe like a week, but then like afterwards is just feel
yeah,
like the same.
exactly. And see, that's kind of the struggle Halo's going through right now. When you
Yeah.
look at Halo, Halo hasn't introduced a new sandbox item in like a year. It's been forever since they've gotten anything new in Halo. The last thing they added, I think, was the shroud screen, I believe, if I'm correct on that. Um, which is basically the smoke grenade, right? We have that in Splitgate 2. It's literally the smoke grenade, though Halo, I would assume, probably did it
Yeah.
first. Don't know. But Halo struggles because they continuously update the shop over the actual existing game. And that's the problem in the idea that yes, they're supporting the game like monetization way wise to like do that, but not actually updating the sandbox at all. Now, um, what is it? They could add quest faction. They could add quests to unlock new factions. I can't see them doing that, especially in the sense of I number one, I'm looking at UX defiant when I say this. I hate quests that I need to unlock anything. I hate it.
I don't mind them as long as they don't become like very tedious and like
X Defiant is specifically tedious because X Defiant requires you to get 700,000 experience to unlock a single faction.
that's
In fact, there's
ridiculous.
2 factions that are unlocked through that. And keep in mind, one was introduced on like the 2nd season or something like that. And that's
Yeah.
like fucking ridiculous.
So this
Like,
is
oh my lord.
this is a speculation that I'm showing off, but this is from the companion app. This is, one this selects here is a something that hasn't been revealed yet for the companion app itself. But it appears it doesn't look like a BFB to me, but it appears to be a different kind of melee weapon here on the right here. So who says that BFB is going to be the only melee weapon? We have yet to know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's worth noting not everything that you probably see in art is like final, right?
Yeah,
Because
again, it's a
um
speculation that it might be
it
part of the game.
sometimes like seams slip through like the cracks of concept art. I know King of Juice was like going around trying to piece together the timeline of like how stuff was like
Yeah.
created, and supposedly there was like an art side slip up where a date is like specified on Frontier, and then he's like, but that makes no sense. Stuff like that slips through the cracks all the time. It's just
Yeah,
little inconsistencies between the team.
I haven't really looked into the timeline side of things, but yeah, Juice has been deep diving into that, and it seems like he found a in continuity that didn't really make much sense. That like something
Yeah.
doesn't add up. So
Yeah.
it could be a slip up of like past art that still exists and they forgot to update it maybe. Who knows?
Stoma says, I think a lot can still be changed at release. The maps and game modes will be decisive, especially how quickly content is added. It would be clever to have a map editor right at start. Yeah, here's another thing that I will always say, and Halo has always led the charge. Community created content should always be there at start,
Yeah.
period. Because Call of Duty has struggled with community created content, but the only reason Call of Duty continues to thrive is because funny skins, good gunplay, and some good movement.
I
And of course, being backed by a multi-million-dollar company.
I don't remember where it was at. It was either with the Reddit AMA or the Xbox Era interview, but basically it made it seem like Ian applied that he doesn't want to launch the game half cooked, right? He wants to launch a game with plenty of content right off the start with the maps, with the modes, like
Yeah.
weapons, all that good stuff. So it makes me think, even though he's still being vague about if there's gonna be like a map creator or not, I feel like that might be a possibility that it is gonna be coming with launch for Splitgate 2, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I do think that it is something that I think they saw how much effort me, you, and all the other map creators were putting into the maps,
Yeah.
and obviously they embraced it because look at all the featured playlists in Splitgate 1. Like a good majority of the maps in the featured playlist for Splitgate 1 are community created maps. Some of yours, some of mine. I think I forget who all else. I think Hunter Killer, Sweeten, a bunch of other Splitgate MVPs are also listed on there.
I think when
Stoma
Splitgate 1 had
says,
the highest player numbers, the map editor didn't exist yet. It only came later when the player numbers started to drop. Yeah, it did.
Well, for one, that makes sense because keep in mind, as far as we're aware, and at the time, there was only one person working on the map editor, like a single person. That means from the ground
Yep.
up, there was a single person that was working on this map
Yep.
editor.
His name was Steve.
Yes.
He's
yes.
also the one who coded
Made the slide, right?
I don't know if he made the slide, but he made the mantle in Splitgate 1.
Okay.
So
Well, he's the goat.
yeah.
And we've had our opportunities to talk with him, a lot. And we've given a ton of feedback from the Splitgate 1 map editor, and we really hope that whatever Splitgate map editor is coming out for Splitgate 2, we hope that, we're able to jump in almost immediately and start throwing something together. So I guess this is kind of like part of like the replayability section, I guess, that we're gonna go here. And I don't know if you have the article pulled up, but something about Ian wanting Splitgate 2 the last 10 years.
Yeah, that was I can't remember if that was in the gamer. Let me just look up 10.
I don't remember which one it was, but for context about Halo Infinite, for anybody who didn't know about Halo Infinite was supposed to be a 10-year investment for Microsoft. And unfortunately, while that might still seem like the case, it probably is not. Simply because during the COVID era of game development, Halo Infinite supposedly went through what we call development hell, where development doesn't go smoothly.
I found it.
Okay. So you can go ahead and pull that up. But yeah, supposedly Halo Infinite was supposed to be a 10-year investment, and how you're going to keep.
If I
I don't know, go
recall
ahead.
correctly, I remember even Destiny 1 by Bungie, they said they wanted to make that game last for 10 years. But, that got
They
canned.
have.
That got
I
canned
mean,
for Destiny 2 instead.
well, I mean, fun fact: Destiny itself is coming up on its 10th anniversary. Literally, I think on the 8th. So tomorrow would be Destiny
Are
2's
people still
or
playing it?
Destiny's anniversary. Yes, there are still players, but I do want to say this right now. Destiny 2 has hit its all-time lowest player count of all time between both games.
Oof.
There's a lot of reasons, and unfortunately, this is really not the type of podcast to talk about that right now.
So it says here in the games developer article, 1047 Games boss hopes Splitgate 2 will still be a thriving in a decade. Says, I want Splitgate 2 to be a game that people are playing in 10 years from now, on a much larger scale, of course. I think we had 200,000 concurrent players in Splitgate at our peak. That was like during the console launch, right?
Yeah,
And
the
then,
beta.
yeah, and then success to me would be more than that, and more than that in years from now. So
And
he wants to
he's aiming
think
high.
yeah, he's aiming high.
And I'm not necessarily gonna like be like, oh, it's not achievable. It's definitely achievable, but
Yeah.
it's a mark to hit that's really high up there, because then that means you're literally playing with Fortnite, Call of Duty.
It seems like everyone who has made that statement in the past has never actually achieved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Halo had the opportunity, but unfortunately 343 Industries fumbled. I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of games that were meant to be going on for more than
Yeah.
a specific amount of years. I don't know how old Overwatch is at this point. I think Overwatch might be coming around to its 10th anniversary, I want to say. I'm not totally sure how old Overwatch is now.
Maybe, but does it technically count because it's Overwatch 2?
Well, Overwatch 2 is just Overwatch 1 ported to a newer engine. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I don't know. I also could argue because even though Destiny 1 is going on for almost 10 years, they haven't done content update for
Well, yeah,
years.
I understand that, but it's that continuation aspect, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to play and update a game without needing to upgrade, the hardware because um, when Destiny 2 or Destiny 1's life cycle was in the process, halfway through, the Xbox One and the PS4 came out. And in exchange, they had to basically split, not necessarily split, I want to say. I think the both consoles still had cross gen, but you could play 360 with Xbox One, right? But you couldn't play any of the more recent DLCs without the Xbox One. Um, and even still to this day, Destiny is still supporting the Xbox One and the Series S on top of PC and PlayStation 4 and 5. Um, and you start to see like, okay, Destiny 2 is getting to a point to where maybe we need to start pushing these last gen consoles out. How are we going to do that, right? And in Overwatch's cases was to quite literally put it on a new engine. Um, and in Halo's case, kind of never happened. I want to say that because for literal context, the Blam engine was the engine that Bungie used for Halo CE. Again, it's kind of an evolved version of the Doom engine. Every pretty much modern engine is kind of like that evolution of like the Doom engine because, Doom engine is so easy to like, mod and modify, kind of bend to your own will kind of Thanos shit.
Yeah.
Um, and 343 has supported the Blame engine even beyond Bungie to this day. So what Halo Infinite runs on is technically the Halo CE's engine. And that's a problem because you start to question, do I want to run this engine and try to modify this engine, or do I want to use something like Unreal Engine 5 that I don't really need to modify, but it's easy, it's effective, etc. In Overwatch's case, I think they're using a build like an in whatever you want to call it. Basically, they built their own engine from the ground up. A lot of like AAA companies do this. I know Capcom does it with the RE engine, specifically using it for Monster Hunter Rise. I think they use it for a few of their other stuff that's going on for new developments. Um, and of course, the Blam engine, which, fun fact, even the Blam engine is still being used by Bungie today because that's what the Tigress engine is that Destiny 2 currently runs on. And unfortunately, that engine struggles from time to time. Um, and uh, you need that technical upgrade. And when we look at games like Destiny 2 and Destiny 1, they aren't the same game, sure, but they're still that same story. That it's that same like feel that you had. It's that upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So,
I know you're talking
um,
about the engine and stuff.
yeah,
Um, we know that the new Splitgate's going to be on Unreal 5, right?
yeah.
And Ian, as like he's seems like he's probably talking about that his live ops plan, it's going to be something pretty big and something that people are going to be into. Do you think they're going to be able to deliver that live ops plan where they're going to be able to deliver what's ever like say in the schedule to come? Assuming they have like things like roadmaps down the line,
That
because
that depends. Especially if they're thinking long term, right?
yeah,
Like
I,
if
I
we're thinking
I do want to mention real quick. They have made a roadmap before for Splitgate 1, and
right.
they not was able to deliver every single detail to it. And since then, they have
You know,
not made
that's
a
funny.
roadmap.
That's funny because Destiny 2 had roadmaps, and a lot of people hated the roadmaps because it showed how little or how much content we were getting.
Yeah,
So they started doing this, I think, around year 2. or year 3. I think it was year 3 because at that point it was year 2 because we actually did have dates for a majority of the content that was coming because we had Black Armory, we had uh Joker's Wild, and then we had Opulence. Um and we continue to get going into year 3, we got like 2 or 3 roadmaps, and then they just vanished because number one, they didn't want to show us what content we were getting. And at this point, they were transitioning into the whole weekly story. Um, so since those days, we've never had a roadmap in Destiny 2. They'll give us like an infographic of like what's coming. It's like, oh, here's this, 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 and this, but we have no necessary dates that are set in stone.
I feel like
Um,
even though like knowing what's coming ahead in your video game that you love and play, it's like nice and all, but it seems like roadmaps are kind of like it can backfire very easily if you can't
it, it
deliver.
it kills hype, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the point. Like, if I was playing Halo Infinite and I got no like leaks or data mines or anything, because if for people who don't know, Halo Infinite updates get data mined weeks before anything gets announced.
yeah,
Like, for context, I think it was 2 weeks before the original Halo CE armor set actually came into gameplay, came into like perspective. Fun fact: we already knew,
Oh,
or
what am
before it
I?
was announced, it was already
Yeah,
there.
I'm sharing my
Um,
I'm sharing my entire screen. I didn't want to do that.
yeah, I saw that.
Um,
But in the case of like a roadmap, it's the same
there we
idea,
go.
right? It's like if you're showcasing something to me off and like you're hinting at something, then I already know that something's already coming here. Destiny has the same issue. It has leaks. People get into the files. They
Yeah.
find infographics like the one that you're like pulling up, like something like this, where it
Yeah,
shows like,
this is an example of why I feel like games should just like never do roadmaps anymore. This is Concord. They had a roadmap. They had a set plan for the future of Concord, and we all know where Concord ended up at. They didn't even get to even experiment with a season 1 even. So
yeah,
they didn't even get the chance to even like try out whatever is here because the
mm-hmm.
player base is like became non-existent. So I feel like it's
Um,
very risky to do a roadmap of your game dev. I
it
probably would not.
it depends, right? Like
Yeah,
obviously Bungie could do it because they have the budget. Especially at the time. Well, actually at the time they were doing a lot of the roadmaps. They weren't with Activision anymore.
yeah,
Um, so they purely did it for the sake of the community, right? It's like the community was like, as much as we like these roadmaps, you know, we don't like to know, like, like what's coming. Some of the stuff we aren't getting on time. Stuff had to be delayed and the whole 9 yards. Um, but yeah, again, it just kills hype. I think that most games, like, if you want to hint at something, you give a date, you give a teaser, and Halo Infinite does this to this day. It's like when a new operation comes, they'll be like, "Here's a little teaser trailer. Here's a date. Wait until like next week, and we'll reveal more information." But in terms of like having to understand the the formation of hype, it's like little hints here and there is really what makes everything kind of like light up, because like when you look at stuff like ARGs, it's those little hints that everyone picks up on and be like, oh shit, this is something that's going to be bigger. um and I feel like the more you do that, the more hype you build, and the more way content is perceived. um I think time gating is another issue that falls underneath this. I think gacha games like Genshin Impact show how well hype players and especially how to push content. In most cases, yes. I know little about
The-
how Genshin Impact
So
and stuff
the thing
functions.
how they hype players for Genshin Impact is that they don't really show a roadmap. What they do, they will show off like trailers or character trailers even for their upcoming content or characters in the game. And this is usually like only like a few weeks, maybe like a month in advance. The thing with
Yeah,
roadmaps is that usually it's like planning out like this is what we're gonna be doing like
half a year.
yeah, 6 months from now. This is
Yeah,
what we're gonna be
yeah.
doing a year from now, and I think that's way too risky because you don't know what's gonna happen in that time
I
frame.
I think one thing that Bungie has always done well, as of more recently, when before their biggest, the final shape dropped, and keep in mind that DLC was fantastic. Um, they did the Into the Light like free like drop for literally everyone. If you're a free player, you had access to like the Into the Light stuff, and to this day, you still do. But the way that they really teased a lot of this was showcasing some of the guns very, very early. Like for example, we got to see Luna's Howl, which for context, Luna's Howl was one of the hand cannons of all time in Destiny 2. It was one of two weapons that you could get for being the best in the competitive ranking. Um, and they brought it back for the community and they teased it. They were like, here's this gun, it
Mm-hmm.
might look familiar. Um, and then as they continued to progress, they showed off more and more and more. And then like a week or two before they actually, released it, they did like live streams showcasing off gameplay of like what we could expect. And granted, in most cases, that could kill a hype. If it's not up to player standards, that could obviously kill a hype. But the reason this was so big for Destiny is because it was a tower defense style mode that we've never got to experience in Destiny 2 ever. We've always wanted something like that. And we were finally getting it. They were putting a new twist on Destiny 2, and everybody loved it. That little like content drop they did was still some of the highest numbers I think Destiny 2 has seen outside the expansions. So
For Splitgate case, I feel like they're not there yet to possibly do things like a roadmap, right? They might
yeah, it's too
they
early. Yeah,
yeah, they need to experiment the waters more, make sure they're able to deliver everything they want to deliver, and if they can do that, then hey, they might be able to get away with like something like a roadmap, right? But
yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
I
you
say
think they will ever like bring back like the weapons from like Splitgate 1, like the plasma rifle, the it seems like they're gonna
no.
might bring back the BFB. Just the amount
Uh,
of hinting
if
towards it.
if they bring them back, they're gonna modernize them, right? Like we
Yeah.
kind of see that right now with, of course, the BFB. BFB's back. It's more modern style, and it's more in line with like the art style. The Eros carbine is quite literally the Splitgate 1 carbine. Obviously, you can see the plasma rifle as the Synapse. It's technically an energy-based weapon. It doesn't play the same, but I think the reason that they changed how the plasma rifle works is because the game's fast. It's like it's faster in Splitgate 1. And that said, it's harder to hit your enemies with a projectile style bullet um, than hit scan.
I know there's gonna be
Um,
people out there that's gonna want the sniper rifle. How do you think they're gonna tackle that in Splitgate 2? Like, you don't think that's
well,
gonna
for
be a common
one,
weapon in your loadout, would
no,
you think?
no, no. I talked about this, whenever I talked over my Sabrask stuff, and yes, I went off on a rant in my Sabrask video, about the Warden, uh, and I really dislike the position the Warden is in, specifically because it is almost the equivalent of a Halo power weapon. Um, for context, weapons in Halo never go outside, or at least loadout weapons never go outside their like optimal TTK. So, for example, I think the Bandit is like a 5 headshot, and like the BR is like a 2 burst headshot. And I think that's what the Quantum is in Splitgate 2 specifically, is a 2 burst headshot. But the difference in the power weapon, or at least the mid tier power weapons, we're not talking like the S7 sniper that they have in Infinite. I'm talking about the what the fuck is that thing called? It's not the skewer. Um, I think it's just like the plasma carbine or something. It was that that precision plasma weapon, but it's a 3-tap headshot compared to the typical 5 that your loadout weapons do. And if you compare the 2 carbines of, the Eros being a 3-tap headshot and the Warden be a 2-tap headshot, you start to see an issue here. Now, if you add the impact mod, you start looking at 2 headshot, 1 body, and then you start looking at 1 headshot, 1 body.
Yeah, we haven't even talked
Right.
about the impact mod yet. We should.
Yeah, and you instantly start seeing an issue. Now add the TTK situation on top of it, and then that's also an issue. So here's the problem about adding a sniper, or a railgun for this matter. Are you going to be able to aim down sights, aim, and shoot by the time you're dead?
Probably not.
So that is my biggest worry, right? And again, that falls under the whole TTK situation. That falls underneath like gun balancing, the impact mod, and just everything else under that scale. And that's not even considering the time dome, which increases your rate of fire. And then you also have the rapid fire mod. And there's just so many other things that they would have to balance out to be able to even introduce a sniper into the game.
Trying to find it in my notes here, but I've talked about the impact mod.
God, dude.
So basically, I don't think I need to find it. I basically know what my thoughts are on impact mod. But basically, I feel like the impact mod, in no certain sense, should it basically encourage a player to do body shots. You should be you should be rewarded to do headshots over body shots. I don't like how body shots basically feels like the same as doing a headshot if you have an impact mod.
That was
really
my problem,
silly to me.
because I remember bringing this up. I forget who it was I was talking to. I think it was Seer, I think, in the official Discord. I was talking to him. I was like, by no means should every single time I die from a carbine be a body shot. Period. Like, there should be no means to where the single thing people are going for using a precision style weapon is body shots. Because by this logic, I think it would be 3 body shots from the Warden, and I think that would be slightly slower than the Eros, but still, that's ridiculous.
TDK is probably for sure gonna probably get a change, right? Because they're talking about changing it. But I hope, like, in the near future, we can do like a private lobby, so we can test things out. Because what I'd like to know is like, what would the TTK be like if we had one guy have impact mod on, right? Shoot the other guy, just only doing body shots, and that guy just does only headshots. And we can do it based on a weapon by weapon case for all the carbines.
We would need damage numbers back too to do that.
Yeah, we need damage numbers back too. I feel like it's kind of weird that we only got that. I feel like that would be very identical. Like there wouldn't be like basically like no change from what it felt like. So, but yeah, it might be different with the TTK if they make it so like, oh, we need an extra bullet or 2 now. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Whether or not that's slowing weapon fire rate, whether that's, maybe inflating or deflating the damage numbers, or health for that matter, if they're inflating. It's It's a gray area, and I'm glad they're at least looking into it because it it gave me a headache specifically because especially in something like Hotzone where your life mattered a whole lot more. Dying in like half a second from like a quantum BR with rapid fire, bullet burst, and a time dome, and then going on like a 15 to 20-second respawn time was ridiculous. So I'm glad they're at least looking into it.
Brother,
Want some hot dogs?
I'm good for now.
Some hot dogs.
I'm trying to see if oh no, I got spooked by a BFB. Who did that?
It's not in the game yet. You can't do that.
Which one of you motherfuckers did that, Illustoma? So, I was gonna show off a clip, but I don't actually have access to that. Basically, I can explain it. So basically, I learned this from Machiavelli from the alpha. But if you have let's say it's a brass shotgun, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can basically just kill yourself and pick up another suppressed shotgun, or just wait until you die, right?
Oh yeah.
And basically, what you can do, you can hold two suppressed shotguns, and you might be thinking, okay, what can I do with two suppressed shotguns? Where am I getting at with this?
Fortnite.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. So Fortnite had this thing where it was called like the double pump, right? You were able to basically quick swap between pump shotguns, and you only have to worry about the downtime or the reload or anything like that.
The chamber, the pump.
You could just quickly fire like pow 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 with the shotguns.
Yeah.
You can do that with the Splitgate 2 Alpha with the Sabrask shotguns. You can ignore the downtime, you can ignore the reload, you can just switch between the two. So, as much fun that can be, I think they should probably patch that out.
Yeah, I would assume that it's also probably going to get nerfed one way or another. So, yeah. It's a bit unfair, especially seeing the Charger shotgun. Charger shotgun definitely needs that help a little bit.
Charger shotgun, from what I can tell about this Charger shotgun, is gonna be very strong, but it takes some skill to use.
I feel like they should have just made it like a mini railgun. I feel like that's just what they should have done with it. Like,
it's kind of like that, but it's only at like close range.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of the problem. It's like you have a charge up gun. Like,
yeah,
sure it's potent, right? But like I was talking about the Halo 4 bolt shot earlier, and I was like, technically it was a shotgun. It was like a little charge up shotgun. But the reason it worked was because Halo is a very paced game. Even Halo 4. Halo 4 is paced very well.
I feel like if you change it to like, oh well, now you can do some damage with it by range, right? At that point, I feel like it kind of becomes like a precision weapon, right? And
yeah,
it will probably feel pretty similar to like fusion rifles in Destiny.
Oh, in some cases maybe, but that depends on how you like want to use it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna be into the point to where if it's gonna be like a fusion rifle, I think we're leaning more into a power weapon category.
Yeah.
But my biggest complaint, I guess you could say, about like shotguns in general, is they're very environmental heavy, or in Splitgate's case, portal heavy. Because in Halo, it's all about your environment. It's you, the enemy, your guns, and the environment. I love shooters that make me use my environment. I do this often in Halo Infinite. Is I mess and fuck with people if it's just like a column, right? Like I will jump around that column until someone gets pissed at me and kills me. And unfortunately, Splitgate really doesn't do that. The way you fuck with people is just portals. And if you're introducing something with a charge, it really can't compete like that. Especially when you're trying to min-max portals and having to like calculate the charge time. I just don't think it really works well.
I think I had a few of weirdness going on with shotguns. I also got a few weirdness I could show off for about melee punches.
Yeah,
let me
I know you're messing around with the melee a lot.
let me show off some clips here. I don't think we need to include audio. You're just gonna hear me be like, "What? What the heck?" So yeah, we don't have to worry about the audio here this time. But so, title of this clip I called "Plow doing only 25 damage." So we can see here. I don't know why it's not letting me able to pause it right away. Let me just play it out normally for you guys first. So you can see I shotgun him, I punched him, and he's still not dead.
Yeah.
And we can go to where I should shoot him here.
I was just saying, how much health does he have?
He has full
Does
health
he have
right now.
arrows?
He's
No, he
arrows,
doesn't have
but
arrows.
he's not in his rush ability. So it looks like here, right? I do a
Yeah.
decent shot on my field, right?
Yeah, it takes like half his health.
It looks like it takes half his health, but it's not quite it. It looks more like 30% of his health.
Mm-hmm.
But I have Sabrask perk on, right? Which makes
Yeah.
it so my punches do like 50 damage. So
Mm-hmm.
I follow it up with a punch, right? Looks like he's close to dead. But maybe he used stim pack, I don't know. But
I would
um
say if he used stem, he would have had to use it beforehand.
actually it looks like he still has like low health from what I can tell here. But basically, I don't know why shotgun the plow does that little damage. It
It's
seems
probably the spread. Granted, I don't
it
know how they.
seems like some inconsistency with plow because
Well,
there'll be times where I'll use a plow shotgun just fine, be able to get one hit KO on people, and it'll be
there's a
like
lot of
this range too.
factors. Yeah, but there's a lot of factors here that I can see, like the plow being very inconsistent. For one, the ping. The ping would be another huge consistency because if you're shooting at somebody and there is a ping difference, there could be a chance that your pellet is gonna your pellet spread's gonna miss a portion. Um,
This one's a bit better, but at the same time, I felt like it should have killed. Um, so here, it looks like I did a direct hit on that. I did maybe like 99% of his health there, but I just didn't kill. Okay, so I did like 90,
yeah.
90-ish, right? So like, again, this is
Can these? I never experienced. Can these shotguns actually one shot? I know the
yes,
charger can.
yes,
Okay.
again. So basically, I got pretty close here. I might have been a little bit closer in the previous clip. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my hit was a bit better here too, right? So like, yeah, I think this is right where I shoot.
It might also be worth noting. I think the shotguns can do headshot damage.
You think so?
Yeah, because
So
couldn't the Splitgate 1 shotgun also do headshot damage?
so yeah, I felt like I should have got that kill, man. You asked me. And also,
Yeah.
I think I tried melee here too, and it didn't really work. Unless there was some kind of ping diff or something. But another
Yeah,
thing is
maybe.
that I also feel like melees are inconsistent at times.
Yeah.
And I've experienced this a lot, which again I have clip of. I got the receipts, but so basically, we could show off here. When I punch somebody, sometimes my camera just goes haywire. I think this is one of those clips that shows that off, right?
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens. I don't remember exactly what happens here. So
It looks like your
this is
melee just whiffs
yeah,
entirely there.
this is not the best example, but in this example, my melee just looks like it didn't register at all. It just didn't work. So I tried punching him. I turned to punch, but I get no
And it
punch
just
damage, and like he's basically full health. So
it just whiffs for some reason.
there's something about melees in this game that I feel are a bit buggy and not exactly like final or finish, right?
So I know you're messing with the melees, and you can say without a doubt that the melees are a 3-hit melee, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I can't remember who I talked to this about. I think you were there, and it might have been River or Juice. But in games that want to focus the gunplay, a 3-hit melee is typically the go-to. Like a Call of Duty. Call of Duty went from a 1-hit melee to a 2-hit melee to prioritize gunplay.
Yeah.
Halo has always been 2-hit, but 1 hit to the back. Funny Assassinations kind of follow into the same thing.
I do agree that I think it's fine with 3-hit melee. 2-hit melees always felt very cheesy in Splitgate 1, if you ask me, and didn't
Yeah.
take much skill because basically instead of you like trying to aim your shots and focus your time hitting your shots, you don't even need to do that. You just rush at the player, punch them to death, and the punches
Yeah.
are fast enough that it could be faster than the TTK of the person with the gun. You know, so
Especially with the shotgun, because the shotgun had the melee knuckles attachment, which reduced the cooldown between melee
oh
attacks.
yeah, I forgot that's a thing in Splitgate
Um,
too. Yeah,
but like, in fact, I think I brought this up too whenever I was actually talking to you guys about the 3-hit melee. But Sam Malone, who is the current level designer, or I don't know if he's the lead or what he is right now, but he's one of the level designers of 1047 games. He did the Halo 5 Mythic playlist, which for context, it was basically a throwback, not necessarily an anniversary, but it was supposed to recall the old school days of Halo where no sprint, no clamber. It was just walking and crouching and jumping. That's all it was.
sounds fun.
Um, yeah, extremely fun playlist. The only downside it was a ranked playlist, and unfortunately, I'm
Oof.
not gonna like suffer through our ranked playlist. I think
Yeah,
Phoenix knows that well enough that I just don't play ranked
I
shit anymore.
I can't even get this guy to play rank with me in
Yeah,
Infinite.
good
So
luck. And I'm good. I'm decent at Halo Infinite. I mean, you've seen me play. I'm okay. I'm not that bad. It's just I just don't want to. I don't want to sweat my ass off every single game. And basically they changed it, this mythic playlist that was basically this Halo 3 style or Halo 2 Halo 3 style like throwback style playlist to actually have 3-hit melees. Now I at the time I was still learning level design under Dyer. For most people who don't know who Dyer is, he was for a very short time a level designer also at 1047 Games. And he was good friends with Sam Malone, and they kind of talked level design together. And he's the guy who taught me, and I was like, "Why is it a 3-hit melee?" And he's like, "Well, Halo 2 had 3-hit melees." And I was like, "I don't remember Halo 2 having 3-hit melees." And guess looking at it now, it was a more of a competitive choice because it prioritized the gunplay, and even for this case, it nerfed the BXR, little cheat input code thing you wanted to do, and basically made it to where the BXR wasn't as potent as it is. Even to this day, people are still doing the BXR on LAN. I watched what's his name? Eli. I have him added on Discord. Conveniently enough, I forget his like username, what he goes by. But he was recently at a big LAN event for I think Classic Halo 2. So we're not even talking Halo MCC Halo 2. And they were doing a LAN like tournament, and Eli the Ninja is his name. At least that's what he goes by on Discord. I think that's also his Twitter handle. But he double BXR'd like 2 people back to back, and you know, cases like that where it's like, oh, you can like cancel the melee into a reload and then immediately shoot. It's like stuff like that is definitely why the melees get nerfed, and I'm generally fine with it, and I like how the momentum also stayed. Like the momentum punch is still
Yeah.
there. It's still potent. You could still do it.
I feel like that's a
So
big part of my identity from Splitgate 1.
yeah,
I'm
I
the
mean
guy
now
who
now
momentum punches all the time.
I mean now like it's kind of my identity now because I posted that clip and
Yeah,
Splitgate
you
retweeted
got
it
a
and
good
everything,
momentum punch too.
and like I got a momentum punch and I cleaned up the hill and captured the hill. It's just like again, I felt like Bolt whenever I did that,
Hmm.
and that's a fun time. And leaning into that, by the way, we have heard that we are getting more vertical maps, which
Yeah.
I hope also means more momentum.
Yeah,
Um,
Ian said in his interviews too that both Zenith and Ozone are the smallest of all the maps that are yet to come. So
yeah. Um, but that said, I feel like they could have stuck one on Frontier. I mean, I've been talking about it. It's like they could have stuck one on Frontier. Like they could have made us jump off the edge of the map and momentum ourselves. Like we would have done that.
yeah, so in case you guys didn't know, like Koma and River are both making Zenith and Frontier in Splitgate 1. Me and River already done that for Ozone for Splitgate 1, right? And we can't make jump pads in Splitgate 1.
Yeah.
And it made me think of like what's with the area in Splitgate 2 for Frontier with the jump pads all the way to the left? Why is that so out of the way and like kind of like it takes work to get to? Like there, I feel like there should have been like an easy way to like portal to it or something
Yeah.
to get to the jump pads because they feel so out of the way and unnecessary. And like most of the time, like people are never gonna go use those jump pads like at all.
Yeah.
But
So
if you do, guys, however, just know that you can get a momentum kill off of it if someone happens to
oh.
be around there. So
Oh, really? So you can actually do that? Okay.
yeah,
I didn't think you could actually get a momentum off those jump pads.
yeah. I actually have a clip I can probably find here that shows it
That's
off.
cool. I didn't know that. I didn't think you had enough momentum, which I think that's another complaint that I had and feedback wise is that I noticed like your speed lines when momentuming aren't really there, I feel like. Like sure I can fly through the air, but I don't feel like I'm going fast, right?
Yeah.
Because whenever you went fast in Splitgate 1, you had the speed lines at the edge of your screen that showed like, hey, you can punch somebody now. And I feel like that just didn't feel like the case, but you know.
So yeah, this is a example of a momentum kill on Frontier here. Again, I'm not showing. I'm not sharing audios. No need.
Yeah.
Someone's at the top of bunker. I fly over. Boop. One tap melee.
Oh, what a carry. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
So
know that. That's really neat.
yeah, you can use jump pads to do momentums. Now I'm curious. Will there be a possibility down the line where maybe they make it so they can combine jump pads and portal walls to maintain momentum? I think that'd be really cool. So like, let's
Um,
say this jump pad leads into a wall somewhere, right? So you portal that
right.
wall, you portal another wall, like an angle wall, right? So like you go
Oh, I'm getting an
through.
ad on your stream.
All right, I forgot about ads.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we'll wait.
Yeah. That's just I have like 2 minutes now for me anyway.
It looks like we're no longer dropping frames. All right, so we had a bit of technical difficulties. My apologies, folks, if you guys were seeing
Soon.
any issues at all during the stream. But it seems like we're no longer dropping frames. Alright, so, but yeah. Basically, I was curious if they were ever going to do some jump pads colliding with portal walls, maybe. Because I think that could create some interesting setups. Also, I could see a possibility that maybe a jump pad can go to more a top part of a portal wall But if you don't use the portal wall, then maybe you could just use it to mantle up the wall. You know what I mean? Up top the platform. So it has multiple usage for it like that.
My biggest worry would be it would have to be a distance between the launch pad and the portal wall. Because if you put them close together, number one, we would have to be introduced to a static portal or a stationary portal, like a neutral stationary portal, because I just can't see them doing something like that without, a stationary portal or something. Now, if you were to like spread the gap out where the player could bounce, throw a portal down, and then go through, maybe.
You think it'll require too much work for like the casual players to pull off or something that they probably wouldn't put that in a normal map?
Perhaps, but I'm not totally sure. Right.
Well, hey, if we get map creator, that'd be a neat idea to experiment with. Hopefully, we get jump pads.
Listen,
that is.
I'm gonna give everyone the opportunity to attempt it. And people who smash their faces against a portal wall like that, I'm probably gonna tell you this right now. You're probably gonna die. Because that's the risk of reward style that I like, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're risking your life to pull off this trick that is, difficult. So, and I might have an idea for that, but I do think it's possible. I just don't know how they're gonna pull it off.
Okay.
It could also just be the case of we get a jump pad that leads straight down a pit, and the pit has a portal down at the bottom, portal wall down at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So like you kickstart your momentum, go through the portal without necessarily needing to like build up that momentum from the drop, and instead having the momentum already like kickstarted or something.
All right. I want to start talking about all my thoughts and topics of Splitgate, and try to get more on track on that. So earlier in this interview or podcast, we were talking about how Splitgate is deciding to make longer rounds, like the basically you're upping up the score to them now. And I was thinking, let's go back to me thinking this should probably be best 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 5. And I felt like I didn't get all my points across for that when we were talking about that. One of my points for that is if they're already discussing making the rounds longer, keep in mind that each game in Splitgate 2 takes probably between like 8 to 14 minutes, right? Probably not even 8 minutes, maybe like 9. That's probably for like team deathmatch, right? But like, let's say Hotzone, it would take like 14 minutes. Also, Hotzone's no longer going to have sheer progression for the hill. So that's already going to make the game longer by itself, because it's no longer 2 teams tallying up the same scoring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my worry is if they're still going to make it best 3 out of 5, but make the scoring system longer, we're possibly going to have like 20 minutes long games.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that. But what I will say, in terms of a tournament aspect, so from what I understand from the fighting game community, granted, I know nothing about the fighting game community. My brother is very deep into understanding fighting games. He plays like Guilty Gear. He plays I think Blaze Blue Tag Battle, I think it is. A bunch of those other little fighting games. But the way they have their bracket set up is very early on they have single eliminations. So basically you play a game, and if you lose, you go to the losers bracket, or you're just eliminated in general. And then once you get closer to the semifinals, it's best 2 out of 3. And then once you get to the finals, sometimes it can go up to best 3 out of 5. And I can see this changing depending on the casual to competitive playlist, right? Because maybe if you are playing ranked Splitgate 2 and say you're playing Hotzone, maybe it will be 3 out of 5, but for the casual playlist, it'll be best 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that'll be fine with me, for sure.
Yeah, so, and again, this entire ranked based system, I think, is meant to be portrayed as a competitive system. So I think that's kind of what they might do. As for like, TDM, same kind of like system. I I just don't know how they're gonna like balance it all out.
Have you ever seen the weird animation that happens when you do try to use a smart wall in midair?
No.
It's
I know.
it's goofy. So this is a clip I made because smart wall gets canceled, and this is pretty relevant because here's my thoughts on the smart wall for Splitgate 2. I feel like smart walls should be able to be placed down while you're in midair. I feel like it's pretty clunky that we have to be flat on the ground. Also, it's pretty broken too with controller support, as in it doesn't really work that well. If you change your
Yeah.
keybinds for controller, because the problem with keybinds on controller is, you can't change your ultimate, your ability, controls on controller for
Mhm.
some reason, and it seems like anything that you assigned that's like part of the controls of the ability. Like for instance, the abilities default for left bumper and right bumper. You have your portal at
Yeah.
right bumper,
Yeah.
and I think ability was left bumper, right?
Yeah.
I changed it so left bumper for me is jump or jetpack, and I
Mhm.
change right bumper to. Actually, no, I didn't change right bumper at all. But basically, right bumper is
Portal.
yeah, right bumper's portal. Let's show that. So that shouldn't change at all. But
Ugh.
but for context, right bumper for me in Splitgate 1 was melee, but I was okay with having it on right joystick. Anyways, the point I'm getting at is because I changed it for jump to left bumper. Oftentimes when I was playing controller for the alpha, which by the way I was only playing controller like half the time for alpha, but when I
Yeah.
was using it and when I was using the smart wall ability, there will be times where I'll be jumping in air trying to place this thing down, and I just cannot place it down because for some reason the game, for at least
Can't
for
register it
at
or
least
can't
for
deploy it
at
midair.
least for controller does not recognize the difference between you hitting left bumper or you hitting left bumper and right bumper at the same time to activate the ability. It's
Or vice versa. Because
yeah,
I run into that issue a lot.
yeah, it's very clunky, and I hope that's something they will figure out and work with down the road. I remember
Yeah.
Destiny also having similar like controls for abilities and
Yeah.
power ups. They had no problem doing that. They
Yeah, they
executed
had
that.
no problem.
They executed that well. So
In fact, 1047, I don't know if you're going to watch this at all or if you are watching it, but please make it to where we have an option to make buttons hold, press, or double tap. Please and thank you.
oh
Okay,
yes, yeah, that'd be
you may
helpful.
continue.
Also, on top of that, the pickup for weapons on controller don't want to work half the time. I don't know what's the story
Yeah,
of that.
I think I talked to Ben about that, so
Yeah.
I think hopefully that'll.
So, anyways, this is me about to use my smart wall, and you can see I do it off a cliff. You can see it.
Oh.
You can see it for a little bit. I'll slow it down to like half speed here. You can see it a little
Yeah.
bit, but the game forces me to have it disable. So this is half speed here.
Did it consume it?
No, it didn't.
No,
It didn't consume it,
Huh.
but it made me think in this clip that I was gonna have it down, but it never came out,
I
and
think
that's
what they
very
should
silly
just
to me.
do is they should just do an animation of you throwing it down, like the Halo Infinite drop, drop wall. Like
Yeah,
I think it should be like that.
Halo 3 had shield
The bubble shield.
equipments, or not
Yeah.
just a bubble shield, but I think they had the
Oh yeah, the
the
deployable cover.
yeah, the deployable cover shields. The way I see Smart Wall is similar to that in Halo 3, the whole deployable cover.
I see it more like the Halo Infinite drop wall where you throw it down and it like stands up and like spreads out.
Yeah.
But obviously I don't want it to be destroyed in the same way that Halo Infinite's drop wall does.
So yeah, overall,
But yeah, that's kind of annoying.
Smart Wall I think should be able to be deployed no matter where you're at for height wise. You could be on the ground, you could be in the air. Of course, it's gonna like fall down the ground eventually, right? That's the
Yeah,
idea.
I would always just drop it straight to the floor.
Yeah. 2, we discussed this earlier. Smart wall should not have that whole damage state where like it shows it cracked because we don't know if that's still protecting us or not, and it can be
Yeah.
misleading to the players.
Yeah.
I feel like if you damage the smart wall, it should just be pop gone.
Yeah, it should just disappear. Yeah.
3, why does it not block portals? Why go to make it so an ability which is supposed to be something strong for the faction does not block the portal?
Yeah.
And when
Which
it's a defensive ability too.
I talked about this in one of the original mega threads I think they had for Splitgate 2 discussion before Rockjaw, while he still was at 1047, like closed that old version and then made a new one because it was getting too messy.
Yeah.
I specified that there would be if Sabrask gets buffed, a well-needed buff for the next alpha or whatever, the smoke grenade is potentially gonna cause an issue.
Yeah.
Why?
I have
It's
some
because
thoughts. I have some thoughts that he could possibly do to fix that too. But yeah, continue.
yeah, basically the smoke grenade blocks any portal from being shot through it. I'm gonna assume there's some in-lore reason why a portal, I think what they call it, splicer, doesn't allow a portal to be shot from it through a smoke grenade. I'm gonna assume probably because it's a laser and smoke messes with lasers.
Yeah.
It probably diffracts it or something of the sort. But my question is that I've noticed for Meridian, and I'm sure this is pretty much a staple for every single like faction. Meridian can have infinite healing grenades if they run rapid recharge, because rapid recharge recharges your equipment, and the same
It's
goes for every
it's a
faction.
cooldown like really fast for heal grenade or something.
Oh yeah, like I remember I was fighting against some Meridian in one of my videos, and like they throw it down before I even get into a gunfight with them, and like I think uh I die and they throw down another one immediately, like right as soon
Oh,
as the
okay.
last one ended. So like you can have like an infinite healing grenade supply, but you have to run rapid recharge.
See, maybe like I didn't really was ever really in range of healing grenade much, but I felt like the 40 plus
No one,
hours I played of the alpha, like
barely anyone ran it.
yeah, like no one ran it, and even when someone did ran it, it just felt like it was not helpful in any
It's
situation
because
for
the
me.
time dome was so strong, especially in Hotzone.
Well,
Time
not
dome is strong in
not only
Hotzone.
that, but like I'm also arrows most of the time.
Mhm.
Like I barely use a shock disc at all. It was just I was always rocking Stimpack. So like
Yeah.
why should I rely a teammate to heal me when they could be busy with something when I can just rely on myself to heal
Yeah.
myself with the Stimpack, you know?
Yeah. I
It
mean, that's
felt
Eros. Eros is meant to be the selfish style, you know.
yeah.
I think that's just how they are. That said, shock disc. Before I go on back onto my smoke grenade rant, shock disc needs better wording, because I ran the shock disc for a good portion. I messed around with it a ton. I bounced. I hit myself with it. It goes to show like how much I messed with it.
In the interaction trailer breakdown on the main website, in case you guys didn't know, there's a cinematic trailer which like everyone's seen. There's actually interactive trailer, which is the cinematic trailer but adds more information that you can view on the main website. What they explained about the shock disc was that it's supposed to also EMP portals.
Yes.
And I don't remember if that was ever explained in the alpha or not too when you select it.
It states in the text, yes, it does supposedly close portals. Now,
But we just never seen it.
from what I've played of it, I've never had it hit or close a portal. I've hit enemies with it, and it stuns them. And for context, it also just completely fucks up their accuracy.
Yeah.
Like, if you stun somebody, their accuracy gets reduced by like 75%. They will not hit a single bullet on you. Even if you're staring directly at them.
Also, keep in mind,
Um,
guys, you can shock yourself, so
yeah, you can
careful
shock
with
yourself.
it.
But my problem was I messed around with it a ton. Like I hit people with it, I hit portal walls with it, I hit portals with it. But it goes through portals for one,
Oh,
which
it does?
doesn't make sense. Yeah, you can throw it straight through a portal because I've thrown it through a portal and hit someone on the other side of the portal.
Oh, interesting.
But as far as I'm aware, I did not see it EMP portals. I thought like, okay, maybe I got to throw it next to a portal. And I was like, well, that wouldn't quite make sense because if you're gonna like directly hit a portal with it, it should just close it. But it goes through it, so that doesn't make sense. And
Okay.
then I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe hitting an enemy with the stun force closes their portal. So like, even if they
Yeah.
did get away, you could still clean up.
I feel like it should do
But
both.
yeah, it should do both, but
Yeah.
I just didn't fully understand it.
Like, if you hit the
Um,
target, it should close their portals, or wherever they
yeah,
have, and then if you find their portals, you get to toss it at the portals, I feel like it should close the portals.
yeah.
But,
So,
yeah.
um, I think if you toss it at a portal, it should bounce off the portal and also do the whole ricochet thing too, because it's
Yeah.
technically still a surface. And it should be something. If not, give it another bounce, like reward the player or something like
Yeah,
that.
you said it doesn't bounce
Um,
off of portal walls, right?
yeah, it doesn't. It just goes straight through them. Or well, not straight through portal walls. It bounces off portal walls. It bounces off any surface.
Oh, it
In
does bounce
fact,
off portal walls?
yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you said it
So
didn't
like you can
before.
hit a portal wall with it, and the portal that's like right next to it won't close. Like that's just how it is for some reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's very funky.
So smoke grenades.
Yeah, going back on my smoke grenade again. I'm gonna try to keep this rant very short. Much like the Meridian healing grenade, I ran into the like foreshadow of that Sabrask is going to be an issue. And I brought this up to you, Phoenix, very early, whenever we started even learning what the Sabrask smoke grenade does.
Yeah.
That imagine a full team of Sabrask and Frontier, all smoke grenades, everything. There's only 4 entrances to that middle Frontier building. You have the 2 side entrances that lead to each bunker. You have the Fubar jump pad, and then you have the stairs that leads to the drop down to Splitstream.
Yeah.
If you had 4 Sabrasks on that map, you're able to smoke off every doorway infinitely because the smoke grenades have that high of an uptime. Because I was able to throw my smoke grenade and just get another one back and just throw it back down.
That sounds like a video idea for when the alpha comes back.
Yeah.
Let's
So
put that to the test.
And in fact, I think one of my Sabrask like clips that I have like playing actually, I think it's either a highlight on my Twitch or yeah, I think it's a highlight on my Twitch. But basically I was in the middle of Frontier and the enemy could not push up or portal through their mid bunker lane because I smoked off that doorway. I smoked off that portal wall. So
Yeah.
they could not push there. They were either forced to push on foot or through a different route, and of which you guys were already covering. And now my solution to this is just incredibly simple. Swap the grenade block function over to the barricade or the smart wall, and that's it. Leave the smoke grenade as just a simple visual clutter and radar clutter, and that's all you need.
The whole
Because
portal blocking part, right? That's what
yes.
yeah.
This would make sense for multiple reasons because number one, typically you're going to use a smart wall on doorways, right? Like if I'm going to be pushing or if I'm going to be defending like a room, I'm going to use it at a doorway, right? Because that's just typically how those things are going to work. And number two, if I'm using something to block off a doorway, I at least want to see what's behind the doorway, rather than smoking it off and just not knowing what's behind it or who's in it,
Yeah.
for that matter.
This is also an added functionality I think smoke grenades should have from the get-go. The thing about it is that it can harm your teammates too. Like,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
teammates are probably not going to want to have a vision blocker when they're trying to attack their enemies. So I think what they should do with the smoke grenades is have some kind of transparency for your allies that they can actually see through your allied smokes.
Now that I think about it, the tactical approach that Ian was probably explaining is probably Valorant. Because remember what we first compared that smoke grenade to?
He did mention in one of the interviews that he's not trying to make the game like Overwatch. Think of it more like Valorant. That's what he said, and one of the answers to the questions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but yeah, I think
I never played Valorant. I don't know what the game's like, but
I played a little, very, very little of Valorant. I don't know
Yeah.
too much. But here's to hoping we don't get a flashbang in the game.
oh yeah, fuck that.
That's gonna be hell. If we do get a flashbang 1047, please add a way to like, except for it turning our screen white, it turns our screen black. I don't want my corneas to be melted.
Yeah, apparently I heard they did that in Valorant.
Call of Duty.
Oh, Call of Duty? Well, I think they did that in Valorant too, where it can turn black.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The amount of flashbangs that you can get in that game is fucking stupid.
The finals have flashbangs, and I feel like it does nothing but just to annoy the player.
Well, the reason
because it goes white, and it's only a short amount of time for them to even do anything with it, and you can't change the white to black. So it's like, bro.
I think another reason, the main reason, like I think Call of Duty and I would assume Valorant did the whole fade to black screen rather than the whole white, is because I think people in Call of Duty were using flashbangs maliciously, and I say maliciously because they knew players late at night would be playing in the dark.
Oh my god!
And they would consistently throw out flashbangs, basically harming their vision, and I think that's the main reason why they did that change.
Yeah, that's like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, but I'm glad they added something to like alleviate that issue. But what other equipment are there? Sticky grenade. I think sticky grenade is okay.
I like it.
See any issue? I think a lot of people complained about the throwing distance. Maybe we might get a perk for that later. Thoughts?
Thoughts on what?
Like a perk that allows you to throw equipment further or grenades further?
I don't see that being an issue with grenade throw distance, if you ask me. I mean, I have a clip I can pull off if necessary, where I actually get a dude from pretty far away with a sticky grenade, and actually sticks.
I think it was Nade Straight. I think that I saw that complaint from mainly, but I mean, I can kind of see it. Like, you don't throw your grenade very far.
Well, me showing off a clip is probably not necessary. I'll just explain. So I was at car over at Ozone.
Right.
And someone was behind the little like middle thing on the Ozone in the middle of the map, right? You know what I'm talking about? That whole center fight. So before that enemy went behind there, again, I was behind car. I threw Tech was on top of the car. I threw the sticky from the car and stuck the enemy right next to that thing. And that's
how high did you have to aim up, though?
That's like, halfway across the map. I don't think I aimed very high up. I was mostly looking at him, if I recall.
Interesting.
Because knowing me, I am not a player who can do the math for arcs like that.
I'm definitely the player to do that.
Yeah, if there's a ability that has a crazy arc, I'm probably not gonna be able to pull it off. Especially not with like only a few hours of playing as Sabrask.
I was gonna say, for most players, played enough and understand the arc well enough, you probably don't need it. But I feel like in cases of like Meridian Healing Grenade, maybe the Shock Disc. I don't know if the Shock Disc has any like fall off or like a velocity fall off. But for the sake of like Time Dome, I really like the ability to throw out my Time Dome to allies at a
Yeah.
further distance. If not, just have the ability to expand it or something. Like add a perk where it increases it by like 10%.
You can't even toss
Something like
a health grenade, really, can you? It's just like always in front.
I don't know. I just don't know like the distance. Most of the time I see people throw it at the floor because they're using it like personally. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something you could really mess around with.
Yeah, who
Um,
knows?
and of course that kind of be useless on like stem. I don't see arrows getting a perk like that at all, although it could probably be useful. We don't know if we're getting more equipment, like we could
Yeah.
definitely be getting more equipment. Now, I do want to like mention that we do know there is going to be a perk at some point down the line where we get an additional equipment charge. I know this because that very early screenshot you found, Phoenix, on the website has 2 shock disc charges. So
That could just be a early build though.
it definitely could be an early build, right? But there's potential, like especially in Sabrask. Like think of it, they're all about like equipment, right? They're all
Yeah.
about like being like ready, and that's kind of what Sabrask is. I mean, shit, their thing is full of ammo.
I
like
wouldn't mind it so long that the start of the game they don't just straight up start out with 2.
yeah, I
Because
agree.
I can see that being kind of annoying. Let's say like Sabrask is able to get that perk with sticky grenades.
I was supposed to say Destiny 2 does shit like that, and it's fucking annoying. Like
Yeah.
I remember there was a season back in Destiny 2 where we had the firebolt grenades, and for context what the firebolt grenades are is you throw it down and then it'll like scan a radius and then it'll shoot a bolt of fire towards the enemy.
Yeah.
And they had a perk in the artifact thing that was like you can hold 2 of them and they apply more scorch, and basically like if you get enough scorch stacks onto someone they explode. So people would throw these down, and if you're close enough they'll tag you and they will just explode out of nowhere. And you can hold 2 of them, meaning that you could throw one and potentially get 2 kills, and then it would just kind of like snowball from there. And yeah, I agree. If they're going to introduce something like that, they should make it to where we have 1 by default, and then we can recharge over time or something.
Yeah.
So,
Because one thing I don't like about Halo is the grenade spam. And
yeah,
I'm worried that they might down the line make it so like you can do that with sticky grenades. And then,
yeah,
and then you're just gonna run into a full team of Sabrask, this sticky grenade spamming all over the place. It's like no, that's not what I want.
Part of me would like the idea of like a C4 with Sabrask, being able to throw a C4 somewhere and like detonate it manually. I think that'd be pretty neat, but I highly doubt they would do that.
Yeah.
Um,
So I've
what
talked.
other?
I got some notes about the maps.
Oh God, yeah, the maps.
I wrote some notes that seems kind of like it kind of contradicts of what I am trying to say through it. But basically, a lot of people are complaining about the maps are being kind of like they're flat, right? There's not enough verticality. I agree.
Yeah.
And what you guys don't know is that Frontier, I would definitely say is my favorite map of the 3. But I also don't think it's perfect because again, I don't like the side area with the jump pads. It seems kind of hard to
It's being
get
useless.
to.
Yeah.
The side areas are not getting used enough. Also, Ozone. I don't know if they were intended to just only make limited use of flying, but flying just seems severely nerfed in terms of the map designs. And
Yeah.
I kind of get the idea that maybe they just didn't want a infinite flying loop, maybe, to happen, like you can with
Yeah.
Splitgate 1. And that's why you don't really have like floor portals anywhere really. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could still like execute it a little bit better. For instance, like I want to be able to, let's say I want to use that floor portal, right, in Ozone, but not actually use my escape of the floor portal off the ramp portal that's right above the floor portal. You know what I mean? Because what I like to do is think outside the box when I do my momentums, and use a different portal wall to momentum from. Makes sense? So, like, let's say I
Yeah.
use the portal wall behind Slipstream to momentum from across the middle in that area instead of middle, like, from base to base. So instead, I fling myself from Slipstream to the Fubar area from that way.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that the map is designed that anywhere around those floor portals, there's no portal site. So you have to basically pre-portal somewhere on the map that you want to launch from, and then go on foot to drop down there, and that just feels too slow. And yeah, not a big fan.
So most of my complaints when it came down to maps is that specifically I felt this on Zenith, and I guess in most cases it could also fall under Ozone's issue, I guess, is that some of the areas didn't feel like I guess you could say like hard points. So like when you play Halo, for example, and you play King of the Hill, typically you'll have rooms that like surround one another, right? So if I had like a
Yeah.
room here and a room here and I have a room here and my hill was in here, these two rooms would like connect and interact with one another, right?
Yeah.
So for example, in Zenith, when it comes down to the diorama area. You know how like you had the diorama was kind of like an angle, and then it came up to a staircase, and then one platform went upper and lower Fubar, and then it connected to whichever spawn it was. Um, my biggest complaint is that these areas did not play with other areas. Like in Halo, they have so many different routes that you can flank from, that you could play from, that it made this area feel like you're actually defending and actually attacking this area.
Like
Meanwhile,
like the maps feel kind of linear for movement. So what you're trying to say?
kind of, yeah. But I kind of talked to I think I forget what his name was. I think it was I want to say it's Garrett, but I don't know. Let me see if I can quickly find his name. He was very quick. He is one of the current level designers for Splitgate right now. If I can
Interesting.
find his name, starts with a G.
Yeah, the only map creators I know is Sam and Blaze.
I have had my opportunity to talk to him. Very very shortly because I knew him from Dyer. Because in fact he was one of Dyer's friends at whenever I met him. I don't know if they still are friends. Don't know. I know he's had a few falling outs with friends that I knew like via level design means. But as a whole, I brought this issue up to him and I said, these areas don't feel like areas. They don't feel like they interact with, um, you know, the hill like they should. These because whenever they put hills in, say, middle of frontier, that makes sense because we're defending the entire middle of the map, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where a good focus of the gameplay is. But I noticed that most of the other areas they placed a bunch of hills don't feel iconic enough, right? Um, Halo maps have always had very iconic locations and stuff for hills. Like Guardian, top mid, like Guardian's top mid hill is iconic because it's Guardian, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, there's like bottom mid of Guardian. That's where Gravity Hammer spawns. And again, Broken Tree. I mean, we have like Lift, Window. It's like we have all these different callouts for these maps, and they all feel very unique with one another. And they all interact with one another. Like, for example, you could be Window and you could be shooting, from top mid.
When
You have all these.
when Halo has like
It's
hill
crazy.
placements, right? You know how like
Hmm.
Splitgate hill placements, what they like to do with Splitgate hill placements a lot is, let's say there's a hill at like a team base, right?
Hmm.
Well, to balance it out, the guy have the same hill on the other side for the other team, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do they do anything like that for Halo, or is it like always like
They
hills in the middle?
do, but I want to say for Halo, a lot of players and a lot of Halo level designers, for that matter, lean more towards ASIM because ASIM or asymmetrical maps,
Right.
for most people who don't know, are more interesting because it's more fun to play. Because in most cases, most people don't like playing a map that is just mirrored on one side.
I
Look at
I know this.
Argyle.
I know this is a weird combination and doesn't really get used like ever in Splitgate 1, but I
Mhm.
remember going through simulation maps for King of the Hill, and I remember seeing like everybody's least favorite simulation map, by the way, simulation Foxtrot, right? They've
Mhm.
done something different with hills, I noticed, but I actually like. So basically, instead of them doing like, oh, let's just copy the same hill but flip on the other side, what instead they did was like, oh, let's have this hill at this corner, and on the next hill on the other side, it'll be more
The
higher,
opposite corner.
like more higher up or something, or a different
That
POV or
yeah.
POI area, right? So basically, what I'm trying to say is that they'll have hills favor one side more each time, but it's at a different elevation or a different area. You know what I mean? And I feel like maybe
Yeah.
they could have done that with the hills in Splitgate 2 Alpha. Like, for instance, let's talk about Frontier again. They got
Mhm.
the hills inside the bunkers, but they also got the hills on top of the bunkers. Is it really
Yeah.
necessary to have a hill on top of the bunker on each side and also on the inside, on each side? You know what I mean? Like, couldn't they just do one on top and then one
It,
bottom on the other side?
they it depends. I think that's definitely a rotation issue. In the case of when you look at the gameplay in a sense of if it's in order, right? Like, um, for most games, Halo, I know, I think, uh, what is it? King of the Hill and Splitgate 1 map creator, you're able to designate the order, I believe. Or no, I don't think in Splitgate 1 you could, but in Halo Infinite, it allows you to designate the
Do
order.
we even like spawn more heavily on one side than the other in Splitgate 2 Alpha? I don't remember if that was a thing or not.
Um, I don't think so.
Because if it's not, then I think it would have been fine to like just remove a few copies of the hills. Just put on the other side, you know what I mean?
My here's like the thing with like the hills. Like I don't mind the bottom hill, as the bottom hill is an interesting area. I just think that if they're gonna put the bottom hill or any hill in general, it needs to be A, easy to access, and B, easy to contest.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem, right? It's like in most areas where the hill is, it's impossible to get to sometimes. Like um again, bringing up Sabrask. Like whenever we played Hotzone, I could throw my smoke grenade onto a portal wall and just make it completely
Yeah.
irrelevant. In cases like that, it's like I need the ability and I need like the angles to interact with the point. I mean, I could.
I would see Ian in one of the videos play smoke grenade just like that too, where he would just like put the smoke grenade on top of Slipstream spawn and Ozone, does it block that back portal wall.
Oh yeah, you could just drop it
Yeah.
and like it
So
just
it definitely
makes shit
seems
irrelevant.
like it's intended to played like that. So.
Yeah. But in most cases, you're wanting these hills to be really easily contestable, like because in some cases it was so enclosed, like middle or bottom bunkers of Frontier. It's just super hard to like push, unless of course you have a grenade, like a sticky grenade or a Fubar or something like that. It's just very difficult to get in there. There was only one good, easy portal route, and that was through bottom mid. Um, but other than that, it was like the side doors, and I supposedly you could shoot down through the grate, um, for like the elevator sightline, supposedly. I don't know how potent it was. I checked it and I was like, that's an interesting angle.
Are you talking about the Frontier bunker? Because that you can only use that.
Yes.
You can only portal through that
You
vent.
can portal
from the
through
bottom.
it one way. Yeah, you can portal through it a one way, but you can look down back through it and see a portion of the hill.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's very funky.
Because
it's
usable.
Through it.
It's like a line of like sight line. Like just like you're just peeking through a doorway or something. It's it's a little weird.
So in cases like that, doesn't quite make sense. I think that if you're gonna do like hot zones or hills or something, you need to put them in areas that are a you're able to get off and on, therefore you could play with the environment, or portals for in that matter. And B, allow the enemy to or enemy or defender to have plenty of room to interact with one another. I'm literally loading up Halo Infinite right now to find a suitable map to really explain what I'm doing. Therefore, you guys have a visual understanding of like what I'm talking about. It's the best way I could actually physically show y'all. But in the case of the maps, I do think there were a lot of zones that didn't feel like they should be part of the maps. They didn't feel like the hot zone should be there. Again, the diorama sections, as I was talking about before, they don't feel like rooms. They feel like hallways. So why is a hot zone there, right?
Yeah.
It's just the mindset of like that doesn't quite make sense to me. What else was there? I liked Ozone. Ozone is probably my favorite map, despite the lack of segmentation that the map had. And for context, for people who don't understand level design terms, segmentation is the act of dividing a map into pretty much sections.
It did look like Ozone won the majority of the votes in the poll in the Discord for favorite map.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm the minority. I like Frontier the most, and I think that was voted bottom.
Yeah.
But I think that's mainly because I just think these maps are just too small for the TTK at the moment, right? While Frontier is the biggest of the three.
I don't think I can play this map.
Should we talk about the Fubar?
You are welcome to. I feel like, is there a map we're at all missing? I was going to say, I don't think so. I'm trying to grab this map real quick.
So there's a few things I like about the Fubar, and there's a few things I don't like about Fubar. Let me show some examples of what I don't like about the Fubar. I got clips.
Boy, clips.
Yep, more clips, guys. Because I know you guys like to see video representations. So this is a example of an ally can block your Fubar rounds. Now, I don't know how common it is in shooter games where your teammates can just straight up block explosive rounds and it does no damage of the enemies near it. But that is this case for this game, and to me that does not feel like fun to deal with. whatsoever. So we can see an example here. So right here, I got clear shot. I got clear line of sight of this guy, right? Watch what happens when an ally walks in front of me.
You basically kill yourself at that point.
Yeah, so basically what happened is that instead of like me doing anything to this guy here, the explosion goes off on the ally. And keep in mind, guys, the explosion radius for single rounds on Fubar is very tiny for some reason. That's just the way they design it. So, I don't even know if I did any damage to this guy if I did that. Let me check his health real quick. Try and rewind here. It's like, okay, so he already had that portion of health missing, right? I can't even get visuals of him. I think it was like about the same. Like I don't think it did anything to him, essentially. So not only that it did damage to me when I did that when the ally blocked it, but it did nothing to the enemy. Alright, but I got more to show. So Fubar does not work on stairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Fubar does not work on stairs. Let me show a clip of that. So, here on Frontier.
Bro's dual wielding the power weapons.
Yep, that's a common thing that happens in the alpha for me. I have both powers because no one wants to use them. But, so there's the enemy here. I'm about to shoot at the stairs here. So you can see that he's basically going to be walking into my rocket here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It did nothing. He's full health. These stairs just ate my rocket.
Yeah, I see that.
So, I don't know if this is the case on multiple stairs in the game, but these Frontier stairs specifically will just eat your rockets.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, another instance against these stairs here is, let's say you zoomed the Fubar over a ramp, and I think I understand what happened here after breaking it down with the community, because I'll share these clips with the Discord community sometimes, and they'll try to help break things down with me. So I'm just gonna play through it here and let me know if you guys think if there's anything weird with it. I'm not gonna say anything, let's just let it play out.
Huh.
Don't you think that looked weird?
Did your teammate move in front of you?
There was no teammate. So what
Well, look on your radar.
He is behind me, it seems, yes. But oh wait, what? Okay, that's actually probably new knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few things. There's a few things that could probably happen here. Here's what I think that happened. Which honestly, I might be leaning towards the teammate because I actually did not even notice this teammate until Koma mentioned it. But what I am noticing here, you see how like when I zoom in with the Fubar here, right? So when I zoom in the Fubar, you know how when you zoom in the Fubar, it uses all your rockets in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In your mag. You see how my crosshair gets like changed slightly? There's like a transparent outlet line here.
Yeah.
I did not notice this crosshair exists during gameplay, by the way, folks. And I think what might have happened is that even though I was zooming over the ramp here, right? Maybe two of my rockets hit this top part of the ramp here, right? And by doing that, it would be close enough that it would just blast me in the face.
Huh.
Another possibility is like, okay, maybe it was that teammate, like you mentioned.
Well, if you slow it down and you watch the teammate frame by frame, he slides in front of you.
Yeah. Again, I didn't even
Like-
notice his teammate. When I broke it down in the community, even they couldn't. They didn't even notice that teammate. You're the first one to notice that, Koma.
Well,
But,
I'm looking at the radar, and immediately
yeah,
I'm like,
I see
okay,
it. And
I
then,
can
and
see
then
this
he's right
issue,
here.
and then kaboom.
At the
yeah,
same
so
time,
it's
it
definitely a
does look
teammate.
like I shot over him, though, does it not?
Yeah.
Because it looks
Yeah,
like
it
he
definitely
goes.
does. Yeah, but that
It
that
looks
could
like
be
he
a
slides under. Yeah, that's juice.
that could be a ping issue,
Yeah, it could be.
right?
So, basically, what I'm getting at is that one thing is the earlier clip. Get that stairs resolved for Fubar for one.
Yeah.
And two, if this was the case of my Fubar just hitting this slide of the ramp, that's what got me killed, and maybe not Kima Juice getting my way. I think maybe just make this crosshair more visible when you're zooming in, because I didn't even notice this enhanced crosshair.
Yeah. I did say to Ben that it's like I would like to understand what like I'm using in terms of power weapon, like at that in that those cases. So I was
Yeah.
like, I thought it was weak at first because I didn't know it had an alt fire, and I wish there was a way for them to tell us.
For the longest time, and even people to the very end of the alpha thought that Fubar was inconsistent because sometimes it will just do a big blast and sometimes it'll do a small blast. And what people
Yeah.
didn't realize, and me and you didn't realize this until later, is that
Plus, it had an alt fire that shot every rocket.
exactly. So like when the single fire does a very small radius blast, and then when you zoom in, it does a big blast.
Yeah.
All right. So what
Okay,
are you showing
so
off here?
this is Halo. But for context, I wanted to show off the hills because we were talking maps and
Mhm.
locations and hill placements. So this is the case of really wanting to showcase how I think hot zones should really be used in Splitgate 2.
All right.
So basically, this hill is in a neutral zone, but the important thing to note here is that it is overlooked and it is countered by other zones in the map. So, for example, if I am standing, say, here, where my ping is,
Yeah.
I can be seen from over here. But if I'm, say, here, hiding away from this zone, so if I'm standing here, I can get shot from over here.
Yeah.
And then you have all these upper line of sights down on top of this hill. This is kind of what I want Splitgate 2 to do in terms of how I want these hills to be placed. This is a notable area. I mean, number one, it's called stage, but number two, it's right in the middle of the map. Like, it's distinguished compared to every other zone. Now, if I were to stand in it and basically let the zone cap and let it rotate, so we can see the next zone, you'll notice that the zone is pretty much in another very noteworthy spot, and it should also be in a relatively similar zone. It's also worth noting that this zone is very open in some cases, and it's very easy to contest. So the hill is going down here, and once again, we kind of have this open space, and again, it's its own unique like room basically. Again, you can see zone from here. If I rotate over here, we still see some zone, and look, it's even completely overlooked by this entire upper stage here.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone defending from these zones, I can take them out from here and let my teammates push from like say underneath or something.
Mm-hmm.
You have plenty of opportunities, lines of sight, and ways to not only pick off enemies but also, you know, clear out the hill. So like if I stand down here, you'll notice that I also have a good portion of like middle I also gotta watch.
Right.
And then from this room, which is just, you know, everything's interlinked together. And I feel like that is not the case for Splitgate 2. Because when you play Zenith, like it's just like top, bottom, and then back from where you came. Like it's so simple, and I think that's kind of the downside to it.
I think part of
and that
that
being
is because
said-
the maps are flat, right?
Yeah. A big
Without-
part of that is because
Without all the vertical elements like we see here, like you're not gonna be able to design stuff like that for a 2-layer
Yeah.
map.
Yeah. So having those multiple layers of the map definitely helps. But in most cases, you start to understand like why Hot Zone in some cases also just doesn't work. Because well, number one, the built-in systems that they have with Halo Infinite as well is just, or sorry, of Hot Zone is just like the spawn stuff that is going to be changing.
Yeah.
So again, I think I'll just showcase off this last hill to kind of prove my point. Once again, we are in a notable area in mid. It's very open. Again, you just saw me do that jump there. There's a staircase here. And again, there's the bridge that connects over to there. I mean, people who come up the lift there can see me across the way. I mean, I
Yeah.
can be just straight cooked in this area if I'm not careful and my teammates aren't controlling the zone well enough. And this is how hot zones should, or hills should be, because all the zones in hot zone I feel like are just really weird. They're just in very like obsolete corners.
They're also
There's
like crammed into like small rooms
just
too.
yeah,
That
random
only has
small rooms like
that barely has like any line of sight too, right? So like you gotta get
yeah,
up close and personal to even contest the hills.
because like see how open this is. Now think of
Yeah.
bottom bunkers in Frontier. Like
Right.
this pales in comparison of a hill of bottom bunker. And that's just kind of the issue that I have with Hot Zone. There's maps in general. It's just these maps aren't meant to be used for Hot Zone.
Bottom bunker is like 3 ways in, and usually you have to get like pretty close to even get a line of sight. Meanwhile, this hill, like, there's multiple lines of sights to it.
Yeah. By the way, this is a Blaze map for anybody who doesn't know. This is peak Blaze in my opinion.
Yeah. If you guys don't know who Blaze is, he is the one who made all the modern Splitgate 1 maps, and he will be making maps in the future for Splitgate 2.
So, by the way, I think that's a perfect example of like what's going on with a lot of the hills that I really dislike. And again, we have like 2 pathways, and then we have like an entire open portion. It's just like it's kind of as maps should probably be. Now, granted, I do think they made the maps small for the sake of competitiveness. And I think that's really what they're trying to lean for.
I think they were also going for like easy to learn too, because I think if you add all these different layers, then like you're gonna have all these players, like these veteran players, are gonna like really outshine on those vertical maps, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's also part of it. They didn't want just the veteran players to give feedback. They want all kinds of players to get feedback on Splitgate 2 as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much my little map talk. Hopefully they improve this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, if it's anything they've been saying that there are gonna be more vertical maps and there are gonna be larger maps in Ozone and Zenith, I think we're gonna have some
in the clear.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have some improvements. But,
yeah. So do you want to talk about portaling? Like, because I had some
sure.
stuff I want to
what
talk
about portaling?
Specifically, the ChenZo clip is the main thing that I really want to throw back feedback on, and trying to understand, where exactly they want, triple portaling, the skill gap, and the whole 9 yards. So obviously they've streamlined everything when it comes down to the portal system. Portals are now one button, which I think you can actually swap that to 2 buttons if you wanted to. There are, the single button to close one portal, and of course they're having that option where you can close 2 different ones. But the big thing that, of course, is triple portaling. Now this is a huge thing.
This is triple portaling right here.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know what triple portaling is, it's basically you go from one portal wall to another without like basically like walking out of the portal wall. itself.
Yeah, it's a very minimal like movement like shift between portals that allows you just to kind of just snap between, positions. And it's very potent, especially in like casual matches. Like you're seeing here, ChenZo, like during the alpha testing, that we quite literally. I mean, I didn't run into too many pros. I think the closest pro I think we ran into was Cows.
I think we ran into Zach Max before, didn't we?
I played with Zach, I think.
Yeah, I
Or
don't
no,
remember.
I don't remember. I did play with Cabin, but I don't think Cabin's considered a pro, is he?
Also,
I don't know.
I gotta point out here, this clip has gone viral. Splitgate is a bot, right?
Yes. So it's worth noting that
Meridian
most of
Meridian is a
these,
bot, right?
yeah, it's
And
worth noting that most of these are bots, right? But
the
still,
Wrestler I think is a bot,
this,
and
yeah,
hold on, I know Seventh Heaven on his team is
yeah,
a bot,
Seventh Heaven is definitely a bot, but
and Sabrask is a bot. So
Sabrask, yeah. So
I think there's a
so
entire enemy team here or bots.
yeah,
So
so
this clip is all it's blown out
it's all
like
bots, but
proportion.
right, but it still
Yeah,
shows the potency of triple portaling,
yeah.
right? And that's what I want to cover. But a lot of people say like this is borderline like unwatchable from a competitive sense. Like this is a horrible like experience to like watch, right?
Hmm.
And I can understand that. Like I can barely understand what's going on. Like especially with Twitter quality. I'm sure, from ChenZo's actual like stream/recording, it probably looks much better. But like the way he's flicking onto like portal walls, it's really hard to understand where he's going and where exactly he wants to go. And you know,
I just don't
and
understand that mentality because there was so many people that was like full support for Fortnite and right, and yet you'll have these pro players of Fortnite. They just build like insanely fast, and
right, but
you're not gonna have some people be able to follow that either, right? You're just not.
yeah, and I completely understand that mentality, right? Like I understand the split between Fortnite and this,
Yeah,
but I think the difference between Fortnite is it's punishable, where like they build a skyscraper, you shoot the bottom, they fall. Like that's how you
yeah,
punish that to an extent, right? Um, and to an extent, you can punish triple portaling by setting down your portal. Especially in Splitgate 1, that was the case where you couldn't really, you could portal block much
yeah.
easier than you
You
can.
can still also shoot through their portals too.
Right. And I would assume that's what the fast TGK was for. But specifically to balance out the portal speeds. Um, because now you can, you know, do triple portaling much quicker in the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Now, it comes to the question of how do you balance this? If you were to balance it, how would you balance it? Now, I highly doubt this is going to change. I'm going to say that right now. This won't change. For the sake of the competitive scene, this will not change. But if I were to balance this, I would make this an Eros only thing. And let me explain why. Eros is all about portals, and I would limit it specifically to their Eros rush ability. I would uncap, I would cap the portal placement to an extent. And then with Eros Rush, it would uncap it, allowing them to basically triple portal to the heart's content in the time that you have Eros Rush. Because think of it, it's kind of like your little power ability. Like that's how you would do it. If you wanted to, you can make it to where every, faction has the ability to
How
triple
would you
portal.
cap it?
So by default, I would cap the portals by simply just put it in a little cooldown, like a 1 second cooldown on each portal.
Yeah, I'm not a fan
Now,
of that.
I know that sounds bad, right? That sounds awful. Everybody hates the idea of a portal cooldown. But in a competitive game where this is potentially going to be in the middle, or sorry, in a casual game where this is potentially going to be in the middle, warming up in the middle of a casual game, like people already say this is a bad experience to watch.
What
Now
if
imagine facing it.
what if instead of a cooldown, you have a maximum portals placements you can do in a certain amount of time.
Right, but
Right.
how would you limit the player at that point? Like, how would you tell the player? Like, you know,
Like be able to let them know that they have a cooldown.
yeah.
I don't know, but
Because the way I would do it is just simply like, I mean, we have the colors down at the bottom of the screen, right? To indicate your portals. And
yeah,
again, I've always indicated that like I think we should have a crosshair or something with the crosshair around like our actual gun crosshair to
we
tell us what portals are up and down.
we know that ChenZo's not looking at this though.
Oh, yeah,
He
absolutely.
is not looking at that color indication when he's triple
No,
polarized.
he's not.
So if you
He's
do
not. Because
anything here, it's not going to be enough.
yeah. But that's the sake look at the portal UI. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the Portal UI. For context, the Portal UI has two like crescent shapes around the crosshair that tell you whether or not your portal's placed down. Why do we not have that in Splitgate?
What, in Splitgate 2? We have it here, it's just not as noticeable.
But I want it around the crosshair. Hang on, let me grab
Oh yeah, it was in around the crosshair in Splitgate 1, wasn't it?
no, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't?
We've never had a crosshair
Huh.
in any of the Splitgate games.
I think it was teased in the Splitgate 2 um not final HUD, right?
I don't think it was.
Sure, I can find it. I can find that image real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna send this image to you, and basically this is what I'm talking about. Like I'm talking this small little crosshair difference, and this is great because number one, you can tell.
Are you showing me something? I don't see anything.
I sent you a link or an image
Oh, okay.
to like the portal
One sec.
like crosshair.
Aha! It was. So,
Was it really?
yeah, let me show everybody off. So this was an early build of Splitgate 2. This was a HUD that's not final that I discovered myself. This was at one point on their website. You just had to inspect source to see the full image. This was what the HUD looked like at that time, and this is what Koma was talking about with the two charges here, right?
Yeah.
But here you can see underneath the crosshair is in fact a purple indication, which we can assume is, I guess, like, I mean, this is the yellow portal, so maybe that's just to let you know which portals you haven't placed down.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But still, it's like having that information. Well, we also assumed that was originally the jetpack. You know, like maybe they used fuel or something, but it doesn't look like it connects. So, yeah,
this
it
does
could
not
be.
connect, so that can't be jetpack. This is 100% have to do
But
with portals.
but still, like think of that in the game right now. Like think if that was some way to tell you that like, oh, you know, you could actually use your portal or something. Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are having issues keeping track of their own portals, and you know they wish that we had some way to understand like what portal is open and which portal is closed, what portal is shut down, etc.
The map was showing this radar, by the way, folks. They scrapped that. It's just a
Yeah, it seems like that's scrapped.
it's just a boring black
Also,
radar right now.
another feature I loved from this UI was the top of the screen with the Eros logo. Assuming I understand this correctly, this kind of worked in the Destiny 2 sense to where if you died, it would show that your teammate has died at the top of the screen. Number one, this would be great for Hotzone and Takedown because you would be able to tell who is dead and who is alive.
What do you mean? Because we see all the players on our team in the bottom left and their health bar, right?
Right. But this would also show you the enemy. Because if you notice, there's an entire empty space on the other side of the map, the UI, where the enemy would be. And think about the one thing you need to do when taking a hot zone. You need to kill the enemy team. So And you know the way that we check that in the alpha, we pulled up the scoreboard, but that's taking away from the main experience of
Oh,
the game
oh,
mode.
you're saying that there should be some kind of indication to let you know the entire team's dead?
Yes,
Okay,
because
yeah, yeah,
Destiny
I'm
2 does
cool.
that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. That'd be a cool
Because
one.
Destiny 2 and in a 3v3 scenario, you have everyone's super at the top of the screen and everyone's death at the top of the screen. So it's like, yeah, you can see like the little sidearm that's down at the bottom.
That's a different sidearm, right? We don't
Yes.
have that
Fun
in the
fact,
game.
if you go into I think the files for Splitgate 2, you can actually find a little um MP4, I believe it is, the uh of the little sidearm.
Really?
Yeah, here, let me see. Let me see if I can go grab it real quick.
Yeah, that'd be cool to show off.
I forget where it is. It might be a little bit.
But yeah, while he does that, I'm just gonna go off talk about one last thing about the Fubar, because I did mention that the radius for single rounds, I just don't think it's long enough. Let's show that off real quick, because maybe you guys agree, maybe you don't, but I feel like it's underwhelming with the radius of Fubar rounds. I think this is the clip I know well. Let's see if I have a better clip.
So I found like the little movie. Here you go.
Alright, cool.
Um,
We'll check that out real quick. But
yeah, I threw it into the
show
chat.
this real quick. So this is me, Fubar. This is me experimenting with, well, not experimenting. I was just trying to kill him single rounds, right? So I think I hit this. I think I went shot twice. So this is him coming in. So I shoot. I shoot again. Now I don't know what's happened this first round. Let me try playing that back again. So I shoot here. He kind of just like sidestep and it seemed like it didn't really do much, right? And I shoot again, and you want to know how much health he has? He has, I think it shows eventually, 25% health. I shot 2 food bars near him.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, so I feel like I understand where they're coming from. What do you want to do with the food bar for single rounds? But I do think they need to enhance the radius a little bit more.
I said this before. The Fubar, by default, should should probably be a grenade launcher for how like puny it feels like shooting.
Yeah.
Because it does not feel like a rocket launcher at all.
So this was what Koma was talking about that I've also shared off that looks to be some kind of portal indicator for the early HUD. Koma was talking about, yeah, there's blue and orange. Shows off that they're both placed.
It's like Portal. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is from Portal.
Yeah.
And then
I think we need something like that.
And then I gotta find a way to show this off here. We probably share different window here.
If
here
you, I was gonna say, if you want to find, I can hear myself. But yeah, this is
made by Javelin. Oh, okay, yeah, I found this in the files.
This is like one of the little ad things. But
yeah, this is actually in the game files.
It.
So you think this is the sidearm?
This is one of the secondary sidearms. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna assume it's probably a full auto like little pistol.
I thought it was the
and I think that
Sprinter.
rifle there also that I think you skipped to. This right here.
That's Synapse, is it?
This is not the Synapse. This I think is the Meridian Carbine. And by the way, look at the brand at the bottom right. Arc. It's the same brand from Splitgate 1.
Oh, it does kind of look like the Arc skin.
Yep.
This purple.
Yeah. So I think this is the Carbine. The only reason I think this is the Carbine from Meridian is because number one, there's a scope on the top of it.
You don't
number
think
two,
they would have both a BR
long.
and a Carbine Would you?
Yes, I do think, because here's the reason. Every faction is going to have the same exact weapon set types, but the stats on them are going to be different. The
Okay.
way I think this is working is because, number one, we have carbines for both Sabrask and Eros. We're just missing Meridian. And in fact, there's the carbine for Sabrask.
That's Warden.
Yeah. But in the cinematic trailer, Bolt has a rifle that we haven't seen in the game yet. It's a bullpup. And do you want to guess what weapons are typically a bullpup?
What weapons are typically a bullpup?
The battle rifles, the burst rifles. Because think of it, Splitgate 1's burst rifle, or battle rifle in that sense, was a bullpup. Halo's burst rifle is a bullpup. I mean, even the Quantum right now is a bullpup.
Mhm.
And now in the actual cinematic trailer, Bolt also has a bullpup rifle, of which when he shoots dart, it only shoots like 1 or 2 bullets. It's like a burst. So Eros is 100% also getting a burst rifle.
Interesting. And definitely seems Meridian's also going to get that SMG plasma. And it
Yes.
seems like we're probably going to get a BFB down the line.
Yep.
Alright.
In
So,
fact, I will quickly grab that clip.
oh, what are you looking for?
I'm gonna grab that cinematic clip with the BR real quick for you. It shouldn't take me
okay.
very long.
Yeah, sure.
I can show that off real quick. If YouTube doesn't want to give me an ad.
But yeah, overall, we talked about a lot of things you didn't like,
Yeah.
but I still enjoyed the alpha overall, right?
Mhm.
It's just I compare it to Splitgate 1, right? I think that's fair to compare it to because they want to make a better game than Splitgate 1, right?
Mhm.
But I just did not feel like I enjoyed it more than Splitgate 1, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I know it's only like 10% of the game, like they stated in the alpha.
All right. I sent you that link.
All right. But yeah, there was just a lot of things that was just too different than the first game. And I hope they... Jesus, that was loud. I hope they can just make it more like Splitgate 1,
I think
some situations like
I think their mindset is really nice, right? Like everything that I'm like understanding that from what Ian has said, from what Akuvo has said, from pretty much any of the devs that have said something have said, they really know what they're doing.
What? I'm sharing the wrong window again. It
Well,
doesn't
it
tell me
was
sometimes.
as was I did see the stream, or I did see the video for one moment until you swapped.
I think it's not the video itself. I don't know. Share screen's weird. Okay. Anyways.
So keep track of the bullets that are fired out of this
Arrows,
gun.
Arrows BR.
Yep. So watch. 1, 2, 3. Gun has a scope. It's a bullpup. If you want to watch the full video, you can also get a better view of it at the end of the trailer where he's like sliding into with the rest of the crew.
Isn't that not the cadence though? Like the model?
No.
Because I know like the cadence has like it can have like some kind of mod attachment that has that like scope
No.
attached.
No. There's no scope attachments for the cadence.
It does. I think it has it when you have the impact mod on it. You know
Maybe if you have the impact mod,
you
but
know
it's not.
you know the big purple thing on the cadence sometimes that people have?
I think so. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's been a
that's
little
what I'm
bit
talking
since
about.
I've seen the cadence.
At the same time though, that's not the same size as this, so maybe you're right.
I think if you see, like, pause it right before he throws it, like see how the magazine is placed in the gun there, like it's a completely different gun. See, it's a bullpup. Bullpups are loaded from behind the handle, the grip.
I got you. Oh, I was showing your faces the entire time. But whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
But
this
if you,
Koma
yeah,
thinks this is the BR. I definitely see it a little bit more now here. That it definitely looks like a
yeah.
different gun.
So if you play it again, he shoots 3 rounds
Yeah,
in
he
what
does.
feels
He
like a
does
single
shoot
trigger
3.
pull.
Yeah.
And if you play it, if you watch the in full video and you get to the moment of basically 140 where Bolt falls out of the portal, you can see it better. Like you can see that it's like a full bullpup rifle. So he falls out of the portal, and as he's sliding on the ground, you can see it's being loaded from the back of the gun. So it's a bullpup burst rifle.
Let's see.
I like how colorful the barrel is, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, if people don't know by now, scan that QR code.
QR code, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting a ton more guns, right? Like there's guns that we've uncovered that we don't even have our hands on yet.
Yeah.
And again, if we're only getting 10% of the content from the last alpha, there's no telling how much content we're getting ahead of time and even beyond launch. Like
Right.
it's going to be insane. But yeah, I think I kind of agree. We did cover all of the topics. Granted,
Yeah.
in a very sporadic, fashion.
Yeah,
I was expecting to go more down the line, but one thing spiraled down to another.
Yeah, I felt like we got off topic a few times here and there, but overall,
Yeah, with
I
my
think we got.
rants of other games, but
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but
yeah, you're
yeah.
fine. But it's to put everything into perspective, right? That's kind of like my whole thing. Is
Yeah.
like I want people to understand like my mindset and where it can really go when it comes down to like the game industry or something in general. So
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know. It was a good little podcast style thing.
Yeah, man.
We have no clue if we're going to do more of these. I don't know if
I'm totally
know,
down to do more in the future, but we gotta have more
yeah, like
topics to talk about after
yeah, like
today.
after every
Yeah.
alpha test or something, we could
Alright.
definitely do it. Kind of like refreshing and brushing up on stuff that we covered previously, what's improved, what's changed. More news and stuff like that too. There were a ton of articles, but again, I thought it was just really repetitive stuff that was just being said.
We might have to scan the articles downtime, and if there's like anything new we can like spot that's like pretty big info, then we can like maybe talk about in the future.
Yeah, who knows? But overall,
yeah, little did I know that during Gamescom, it seems like Ian had got interviewed by multiple game journalists.
yeah.
And I didn't know that was a thing that was going to be happening, but there's a lot of articles where they interview him. So
yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps everything up. I don't think there's very much more to really say.
Yeah, man. This
It was
was
a good talk.
Yeah, it was.
But overall, thank you for anyone who tuned in and decided to watch. Keep an eye out for more. We'll definitely do more, hopefully, later down the line. If I could, I would literally do a Splitgate podcast, but unfortunately, since we do not have a game to really cover right now, maybe that's something we could do later down the line.
What do you mean?
Totally be down to
this is
that.
a podcast, is it not?
It is, but it's not branded, right? Like we aren't the Splitcast right now, right? Like this is
We could call us the Scuff Splitgate podcast.
the Scuffed Chew Cast or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And if there's anyone else that want to join in the next one, let us know. I'm sure we could probably bring more people on for a discussion.
We were talking about Jan Guda at one point, but he didn't really voice if he actually wanted to join or not.
Yeah.
He just reacted.
I see you.
He just reacted.
I see you in the I see you lurking in the chat, Jing. So if you want to be in the next one, let me know. Let us know.
Oh, is he
You know.
lurking in here?
Yeah, he's been lurking. I don't know if he's listening. But,
Go out the lurkers, why don't you, man?
I'm just messing around with him. But yeah, if anybody else watches the VOD, wants to join in, I'm totally down to having more competitive people on and like discussing, how could we balance stuff. I'd totally be
Yeah.
down with that. I love seeing the competitive mindset. So
I definitely want to better understand what other pros think of the game right now, because I don't think they really voice. Not many of them, I feel like, voice their opinions of the game, at least from what I've seen. So.
Um, yeah, I'm sure that it'll take some more time, but because I think the reason most cases that they aren't voicing their stuff right now is, again, it's an alpha. Everything here that we
Yeah.
see is scheduled to change. And again, most of their plays are going to be based on the launch of the game. Granted, it could also be beta. We don't even know if there's going to be a beta at this point.
My overall concessions is that it was alright. It had some fun stuff. There was also some things that was annoying with it, but I also know that there's a lot of room of improvement, and that Splitgate team does listen to his community. So,
which I'm glad
yeah.
about, because
Yeah.
when it comes down to the bridge between game dev and community, we need to make sure that's always connected. Destiny 2 has a problem of it. In fact, it's such a big problem that the toxic side of Destiny 2 just harassed community managers. In fact, someone got sued over delivering or ordering a pizza to a community manager's house.
The heck?
And I think that's like $400,000 of a lawsuit or something like that.
Holy shit.
And Destiny 2 and Bungie have gotten to a point to where community managers are no longer like listed under their like it used to be this week at Bungie, but now it's like this week in Destiny. Where like every community manager would like personally sign like the TWID, like with their own like, mark or their like, their signature or whatever. And now that's no longer the case. It's just called Destiny 2 Dev Team. And and again, it's too bad that Rockjaw has, come and gone already. I say that like
Yeah.
he's dead, but he's not.
I guess that could be our last subject we can talk on a little bit.
I guess, I don't know. That's definitely something more of an MVP side of things, right? Because
I feel like
I'll touch on it a little bit.
I feel like he can't only just reply to MVPs though, because that seems like a lot of people in the community.
Yeah, well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like
yeah.
he wasn't only our bridge as MVPs, right?
Yeah.
But he was also just the community bridge in general. He was what bridged that gap. And again, it's like now that he's gone, like sure Rory is there, right? Rory is there, but we don't really know her position.
Yeah, we don't really know what she does. She interacts with the Discord. She's listed as community in the Discord, but we don't really know what she does.
But again,
she emailed me the alpha key. I mean, that's something she did.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I do.
But apart from that, like, we don't know how much she's involved with its community.
I'm just kind of disappointed on how 1047 really handles their team, if that makes sense. Like, I guess their dev team is fine, but their community / marketing team, I guess, seems to be somewhat struggling.
Yeah. The reality is we don't know what's exactly happening within the company and within their employees and stuff. But it is concerning to me and concerning to a lot of people that, for context, Rockjaw is not the only community manager they fired. This is like their fourth one within the past year. So
yeah,
I don't know what is with that or what's going on, but it's concerning.
I think now I don't know if this is at all connected, but I know when you talked to Rockjaw about a majority of stuff that was kind of like on the hush hush. I did mention this, I think, in the girls thread or forum thing,
The
in the
grill.
off topic. Yeah,
I,
the
I
grill.
I call it the grill, Jack.
Um, I kind of like assumed that it was something to do with NDA, right? Non-disclosure agreement. For NDA is the case that
Mhm.
anything you sign under this NDA you cannot speak about outside of, whatever. Um, Now, I don't know if he broke his own NDA in the case of whenever you talked to him or you asked him about anything, um, he said Splitgate or Splitgate MVPs should be under a NDA. And by that logic, I don't know if that means he broke NDA. I'm just
By
assuming,
by
right?
speaking that MVP should have NDA.
Well, because that's insider information, right?
Right.
It's like, but by no means does that mean like, how does explaining an NDA work under an NDA? That's that's kind of a
I don't
gray
know.
area, right?
Yeah.
But that's like my only assumption, right? Is like the small little things could be the biggest things sometimes.
Another
Um,
thing I can think
so
of is maybe they really slap his wrist hard when I guess he
mm,
shared something in the Theories channel one time that he wasn't supposed to, but it didn't really review anything. It didn't really show off anything gameplay wise, but it was just like a kind of like it was
yeah.
like a promotional like banner for like one of the in-game sponsors or something that we already know that existed.
Hmm.
And it was basically art that was never reviewed, I guess. And I guess maybe
Oh,
he wasn't
yeah.
supposed to show that off
Maybe.
because within the same day, Rockjaw DM me. It's like, "Hey man, I had to delete some messages in there, and your responses is letting you know about that because I guess I wasn't supposed to like share that off or something like that." That's
Yeah, maybe he did
may
overstep his boundary a little bit, I think,
maybe, but
potentially. But
I
um,
also feel like that's a bit too extreme in my opinion to just
yeah.
straight fire him if that itself was the reason, right?
Hmm.
So, but we don't know the full reason or what's going on, but
Um, well, he did post like a goodbye like post.
yeah,
Um,
which we can I could show that off.
Here I got the link for you, so you can just
All right, perfect.
go straight to it. Um, so I guess I'll go ahead and read a portion of this. He says, while 1047 and me were ultimately a good fit, I do want to say this. It's a huge group of incredibly talented people working on Splitgate 2. They want to make something amazing. It does break my heart that I won't be able to cover your thoughts and voice them, vice versa, but I know they do want to listen to the community and they do want to make something great. So rest assured of that. Um, and it says here he is considered the ex community lead, so he was um one pretty much guiding like the community side of 1047.
Yeah.
And apparently Rory and Cyber are technically under that role.
Mhm.
Um that being said, Cyber talks to us quite a bit. He's been kind of in the dark as of lately, simply because I'm sure he's been busy. But when it leans more into quote, while 1047 me weren't ultimately a good fit, um, I'm gonna more or less assume that he was simply let go of because maybe they didn't like, the way he worked or something like that, or maybe his, I think he did a good job, but maybe 1047 simply sees it as a different way.
Yeah, we have no clue because I also think he did an outstanding job.
Yeah.
Um, heck, I even thought Endo did a pretty decent job when he was community manager. So,
Yeah.
um,
Um
yeah, I don't know what the story between the devs and community managers. It's probably like something
I
we're
don't know.
never gonna have an answer for.
We
But
will probably never have an answer for, because fun fact, sometimes NDAs can even go beyond their like uh even being fired / laid off, because NDAs can expire far into the years. So like if I got hired at somewhere and they signed me an NDA for like 3 years and I get like fired or something within a year, that NDA could potentially still be, in play. So
let's see.
unfortunately, Rockjaw really wouldn't be able to tell us anything. I think it's probably better for him just to not say anything at all. I think this is
Yeah.
probably the best way he could have said goodbye in general. So that said, Rockjaw, I already miss you. It's too bad you're already let go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know what's going on. I hope they sort it out soon. I don't know again who's gonna really replace him. I hope they find a good replacement for a good period of time, because us Splitgate MVPs are really worried about that side of 1047. So sorry.
At what point is it gonna be too much for the community? Is this gonna be like, okay, what's the point? You're just firing every community manager, you know? So it's like,
Now here's
I
the
don't
thing.
know.
I've noticed that Endo said a goodbye thing, right? He said that publicly.
It wasn't really public in the Discord, if I recall, though, right?
No, he made an announcement in the Discord.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he
Okay.
made an announcement in the Discord saying goodbye.
I guess I didn't remember how it was shared out.
Now, I don't remember Green Skull and Rory making public announcements goodbye.
You mean Corey?
But yeah, Corey, my bad.
I still don't know who Green Skull is. I was surprised when you guys talked about Green Skull. I was like, there was a fourth community manager? I was like, what?
Well, I remember he appeared in one of them, one of the meetings, but I didn't think he replaced like Endo or Corey at the time.
He was like a temporary fill-in or something?
I guess so, because when I saw him, I was like, no fucking way, it's Green Skull. Because like, I used to watch Green Skull whenever like Halo Reach was a thing. Like he was a big Halo YouTuber.
Let's see.
Until he took like some time away, and I was like, holy shit, it's fucking Green Skull. And then like we fucking joked about polar bears and Coca-Cola for like 3 minutes. Like I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? But yeah, it's just bizarre to me. That's all it is.
But yeah,
so
whoever they hire for the community manager, I'm gonna have this like thought in my head now. It's like, well, hey, this guy he's doing a good job, but I'm just gonna be concerned that 1047 is just gonna fire this guy a few months down the line, like the last one.
yeah,
So,
that's kind of like my worry. But my biggest worry is, as MVPs, and as we're circling through, these people that, we have to get to understand their personality. We have to understand, what our limits are with these people, because everybody has their
yeah,
own limits, right? They have their personal boundaries. I have my personal boundaries. You have your personal boundaries.
right.
And having to understand multiple personalities and boundaries,
With Corey,
stuff like
I
that.
butted heads with very quickly. He's a
Right.
completely different kind of personality compared to mine.
Yeah.
With Rockjaw, I was able to just be myself and just relax around him.
Right. Same with Endo. Like I
Yeah.
found it really easy to like talk with Endo. I found it very easy, to joke around with Rockjaw. Again, I never really talked to Corey a lot, especially since that was kind of like a really bad downtime for the Splitgate stuff. And again, I joked around with Green Skull. I had a good time with Green Skull as for as short time as he was around. But yeah, it does kind of worry me to an extent. So overall, I think that should be where we call it, I want to say.
Yeah, especially when ads are gonna appear in 8 minutes from now. Let's
quick end it before the ads.
We're gonna end it before the ads even show up. So
okay, so
but yeah, we'll probably be doing more of this, folks. Give Koma a follow if you guys have not done that. He's also does the things.
I stream sometimes.
Yeah.
I also do YouTube sometimes.
He's also a map builder.
I also do Twitter all the time. I'm always scrolling through Twitter, so.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah,
all right.
maybe I should raid somebody. I don't know if there's anyone I know who's playing Splitgate, but let's see if I can see about doing a raid target that someone I know. You know, sometimes not knowing them it's fine. We can get introduced to somebody new here. Who is this? This person has 15 viewers playing Splitgate. A mob of pandas.
A mob of pandas. What a name.
That is a pretty funny name. Does she stream Splitgate often? Because if it's just a one-off thing, I want to see someone who's more consistent with it. She does seem like she's pretty consistent with Splitgate, guys. It looks like she got introduced to Splitgate. With Splitgate 2, it seems like, and then she started playing the first one after. At least that's what I'm seeing from her VOD history. So you know what? We'll give her a raid. Welcome aboard.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone stopping by, giving a listen. It's been fun.
Yeah, it was fun for sure,
It's time
man.
for me to give my voice a break.
Alright.
Oh, fuck.
Peace out, stream.
Bye-bye.